And good evening, everyone. Once again, I'd like to welcome you to the City of Satellite Beach. This is a City Council meeting. This is a regular meeting of the City Council. The date is October 17th, and 2012. Please join me for the pledge. Oh, for a moment of silence, please. Thank you, and join me in the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. A couple of things on the agenda. First, we're going to start with our auditors who are here, and I'll introduce Chaz and Debbie in a minute. And then usually, we did a commitment to move citizens' comments up. Will the council agree to move citizens' comments to like after the auditors? I think that's one thing that we opted to do. Is that okay? So we'll move citizens' comments to number 7 right after our auditors. Okay. I'd like to introduce Chaz Hoyman, Debbie Good from Carr, Riggs, and Ingram, and welcome and thank you for coming. Hi. Would you like to stand at the podium or sit at the table, the both of you? Debbie?
Yeah, what would you? Better at the table.
Okay, so then you have, welcome. Sure. I guess I'll start. And we have asked, we had some issues, we wanted to talk about 175, 185 money with the budget, I think, and that's what prompted the auditors to come up, because when we were going through the budget process, there was a great disconnect on the pass-through money, how it's been shown in the last years and how it's shown this year. And that's the 175, 185 money. We had Mr. McLucky, a forensic auditor, look at it and presented us a report a couple of weeks ago. His reports just showed some, some items that were not on the budget and then came in. So we just asked, I think, there may be some other questions that the council would also like to ask, but we wanted to talk 175, 185 money. And your take on that.
Okay. Basically, I got the agenda items, and I spent some time looking through that and some of the information. So if you don't mind, I might try and answer a couple of questions. Please, anybody, feel free to stop me along the way. I'll be glad to try and answer. I did listen to Mr. Malecki's the tape or the video or YouTube.
Okay.
Mr. Malecki, so I understand what he commented on, and in reference to the items listed on the agenda, I want to start at the bottom, because if you have an understanding of that, it may help in reference to it. The first item is budgetary information that the auditors cover. And
You cannot hear.
Hold that. I'm sorry. Is this better? Is that better?
Let's see.
It would be better if it was on. Is that better? Okay. Thank you.
Sorry. Okay. Go ahead.
Budgetary information that the auditor covers. The first thing I think to look at is our engagement letter in reference to what did the city engage us to do, and what have we been engaged, what's general practices in reference to budgets and reference to the financial statements and those kinds of things. I've given you a copy of our engagement letter. Page 1, paragraph 1 says that we will audit the financial statements of the governmental activities, each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund information, which collectively comprise the basic financial statements of the city of Satellite Beach. It also goes on to say that accounting standards generally accepted in the United States provide that certain required supplemental information be included in the financial statements that the city prepares. Okay? Our engagement letter further goes on to say that of that required supplemental information, we do certain procedures on it, but we don't audit and we do not express an opinion on the required supplemental information. Okay? And clearly under that it talks about some of those things that are the required supplemental information are the management discussion and analysis, the budgetary comparison information, and the pension information. Okay? It also, on page 2 of what I gave you, talks about what the city's responsibility is in reference to the financial statement. These financial statements are not the auditor's financial statements. These financial statements are the City of Satellite Beach's financial statement. Management is responsible for these financial statements. Management is responsible for establishing and maintaining internal controls, including monitoring ongoing activities, for the selection and application of accounting principles, and for the fair presentation of the financial statements. Our requirement is to audit the basic financial statements and express our opinion as to whether or not they're fairly presented. Okay? And this is what's required under the state of Florida law. This is what's required under generally accepted auditing standards. And it's not unique to the City of Satellite Beach. It is that is standard across. If you go back to page 8, then this is our audit opinion letter. I went through this with you in March, April, I forget exactly when we went through the entire financial statement. We went through it, we talked about it at that point in time. The first paragraph says, we have audited the accompanying financial statements of the governmental activities for each major fund and the aggregate remaining fund information of the City of Satellite Beach for the year ended September 30, 2011, which collectively comprise the basic financial statements as listed in the table of contents. That opinion also goes on to say that these financial statements, again, are the responsibility of management. Our responsibility is to audit those basic financial statements and express our opinion upon them. Okay? And we did that. We expressed an unqualified opinion on the financial statements for the City of Satellite Beach. Okay? On the last paragraph of that opinion letter, it says the management discussion and analysis, page 7 through 14, and the required supplemental information, pages 52 through 59, are not a required part of the basic financial statements and the supplement, but are supplementary information required by accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America. We have applied certain limited procedures which consist primarily of inquiries of management regarding the methods of measurement and the presentation of required supplementary information. However, we did not audit those supplementary information. If you then look at the table of contents, and again, this is standard the way the way this financial statement is presented. The city's, you'll see the middle of page 10 talks about what is the basic financial statements of the City of Satellite Beach. And there are 3 categories in that basic financial statement. It's the government-wide financial statements, it's the fund financial statements, and it's the notes to the financial statements. That's what we as auditors express our opinion on. If you look underneath that, underneath the notes to the financial statement, it talks about RSI, required supplementary information. That's where the budgetary information is, and that's where a lot of other information about the city of Satellite Beach is. I asked somebody on my staff to go out and find a financial statement of a city that we have no involvement in. I don't know an auditor. I don't know anything about it other than I know where the city of Naples is. And they went out and they brought me the city of Naples financial statement. This financial statement is dated March the 13th, 2012. It's audited by a firm called Malden and Jenkins out of Bradenton, Florida. That financial statement, if you read the first paragraph of that audited financial statement, is very similar to the audited financial statement we issued on the city of Satellite Beach. If you look at page 2, they again talk about we applied certain limited procedures to the required supplementary information, but again, they did not audit the required supplementary information. Okay? I gave you their table of contents so you could see that it's similar to what the city of Satellite Beach. Carr, Riggs & Ingram, Hoyman Dobson has not done anything different for the city of Satellite Beach than anybody else that is familiar and does governmental auditing in the state in reference to the city of Satellite Beach. We can do more procedures. They're called agreed upon procedures. If the city asks us to do more procedures, go into more detail, we will be happy to do that. But it affects the cost that we have in it. And but we have done internal control type work and internal audit type work for other entities, other governmental entities. Where we provided internal audit type work, we lose our independence. We cannot issue an audit opinion when we do that kind of work because we are more involved with management. We are more involved in recommending policies and procedures. Okay. The next page I gave you is page 15. And we are independent certified public accountants in reference to the city of Satellite Beach. There are certain things that would impair our independence, and we would not be able to render an audit opinion if our independence is impaired. One of those things that clearly impairs independence of a CPA firm is when they provide management function and provide management responsibilities. That's clearly what this says. Audit organizations must not provide non-audit services that involve performing management functions or making management decisions. If they do, they're not independent. That became stronger and stronger after Sarbanes-Oxley and after some of the issues with some of the national companies and the work that they were doing for private companies and actually the work they were doing for governmental agencies where they were involved in day-to-day operations and then they turned around and audited those. Okay? So that's our function in reference to it. Yeah, we can do more if we're asked to do more. If we go too far, then it impairs our independence and we can't audit it and we can't issue an audited financial statement. Let's talk about 175 and 185. That information, if you look page 16, gets into the city of Satellite Beach's financial statement. And that information about the budget is in the required supplementary information. Our responsibility and what we did in reference to the budget and the budgetary information is that we obtained council minutes We obtained information about the budgets that went before council, went before public hearing, and were approved by council. The original budget. We then go back and we obtain every budget adjustment that is done, and we make sure that those were approved by council. They were submitted, the detail was there, and they were approved by council. That information is compiled by Brenda and her people, but we look back to make sure that it was approved by council, that it just wasn't something that management put together. So responsibility, it's management's responsibility to put that together. It's council's responsibility to review that and approve it. And in all of that was done in the city of Satellite Beach. Our work papers show that. On page 17 is where you get into the question about 175 and 185. And it relates to the money coming in for 175 and 185 is intergovernmental revenue. That's the category it's accumulated to in the revenue side. Okay? And it is part of that $1,009,000 in the September 30th, 2001 tax return, which shows the actual amounts. Okay? There's no, we audit it, we confirm that, we know that money was in that and reported properly in that revenue line item. We also know that it was in the fire and police departmental expense. It's part of the $2.6 and the $1.8 million. That's part of the audit function because those numbers come from earlier parts in the financial statement. The question that Mr. Malecki brought up and what council's brought up, and I think part of what the question is the budget procedure that was done in reference to how this is put in the budget, GAAP, is it standard, is it, how is it done? Did we advise management to do it that way? I think those are some of the questions that have been asked, okay? There's no generally accepted budgeting practices. There's no book out there that says this is the government, this is the budgeting practices that all governments need to follow. I can tell you that with the government work that we do, governments handle it individually. It is a management decision, it is a council's decision as to how you do that. Do we have a recollection? Does Debbie and I have a recollection of either Mr. Karate or the finance director asking us if that ought to be done that way? We do not have a recollection of that. Did it happen? I can't tell you if it happened. Was it asked of the audit manager that we had a year and a half ago that is in Colorado? I don't know. Okay? I do know that our procedures to make sure that the final budget, and if there's any variances on budgeted departmental items, we have to talk about that. And you saw that in the 2010 financial statement. We made a management letter comment that budget line items were overspent. You can't do that. We are required to report that under the rules of the Auditor General. Okay, and we did that. So, do I have a recollection? No, I don't have a recollection. Do we have anything in our file? I found nothing in our file where they asked and we responded to it. Okay.
Can you repeat what you just said about the overspending? What was that last comment?
In the 2010 financial statement, virtually on the page, same page 52. I don't know if it's the exact number. I'm sorry? You'll see the both on page 51 of the 2010 financial statement. I didn't provide that to you, but it shows that the police department. Let me make sure I'm seeing across the line correctly with my glasses. That the police department overspent their budget by $47,000, and the fire department overspent their budget by $80,000.
And your point is that's not allowed?
That's not allowed, and it's actually part of the letter that we wrote to the council. It's a management letter comment that we wrote.
So is this one of the red flags that Mr. Malecki was talking about?
No, I don't think it was I don't know that it was the red flag. I think that what I listened to in Mr. Malecki's comments, it was more the big changes between the beginning budget and the end budget on the city's part.
Right.
I think that's what he talked more about.
That's what I took from his discussion.
Yeah,
Was
yeah.
Past councils were presented budgets that by the end of the year, money had been moved around, which made the initial budgets look better in some ways than the end for some departments. Okay?
There was big budget adjustments.
Yes, there were.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, it's,
I think what it's important to know is that as the council has the ability to make budget amendments whenever they want to make it. The issue with the 175 money is it comes in as revenue, it goes out as expenses. There's a zero net effect
Right.
in the original budget and the final budget. There is no effect to that.
Understand.
I know, but I mean, what's important to know is the casualty insurance tax too, the money changes. The casualty insurance tax money has been going down, down, down over the last years. It is kind of hard to know exactly the amount that should be budgeted. But there is no gap that we follow in budgeting. There is no standards that say you have to budget this now or you have to budget it later. It has to go to council, it has to be approved, and it's a management decision and a council decision as far as when that's made. We're looking at year end, and you have 60 days, as you know, after year end to amend the budget.
No, I know. Believe me, I don't think the issue is with the year-end budget. I think the issue is with how the budget was presented to council as they were going through their budgeting process. Because that budget, the way it was presented, from everything I could determine from what was being said by Mr. Malecki, was that the budget was being presented in a much more, what's the right term, much more favorable manner for certain departments. And then at the end of the year, things would change. And it was like you said, a large change. And I believe that was one of his, quote, red flags, unquote. And I tell you, I need to understand, Mr. Malecki's red flags comment. I think I've understood one of them. And I also need to understand why, when we were going through our budget this year, and I'm not saying you guys can answer this question, I'm just looking at you because you're sitting up here. And you can go like this, just like I'm going like this. But I got to try to understand in my noggin why, when we're going through the budget cycle this year at the very beginning, and we see the asterisk number for 175 and 185 with police and fire pensions, and the asterisk said these numbers are, virtually what it said was these numbers are being presented in the correct manner this time. And we asked the budget director, why is that? She got visibly agitated. And we said, why, when was the last time they were presented like this? And she said, not in her experience here, and that she had been told to do it that way. And when we asked by whom, she said her boss, and we asked why, she became visibly agitated and said, I'd rather not say. To me, that's another red flag.
well, but from that side, I mean, if that's been the case, then to develop policies and procedures, written policies and procedures that are adopted by council that says this is the way we do it here at the city of Satellite Beach. And it's done that way, and, you know.
Well, we're changing it now, believe me, but that's not the way it's been.
Yeah.
And I got very concerned when a professional budget person like Brenda was so agitated. And when in her statement that I'd rather not say, when we asked why she was told to do that, that gave us pause for concern, as you can imagine.
Well, in reference to 175 and 185, I mean, that money's going to be what the city collects, the county collects and sends back to people. Okay? So, and the delta for whatever the liability is, whether it, no matter what that is still the responsibility of the city of Satellite Beach. And
I get it. You guys aren't responsible. I get it.
But if the delta that was in there and it just wasn't for revenue and expense, I mean, budget is not an exact science. But, would I put it in on the front side of the table? Would I put it on the front side? Yeah. Do I build a budget for my business that way? No. But, it's a revenue and expense in reference to 175. I mean, it's not, the money didn't go anywhere else, it never went anywhere else.
Right.
It's a budget,
Those figures they may fluctuate, but they don't fluctuate wildly, do they? I mean, 25, 50%, 70%?
Not that wildly. They have been fluctuating. I can tell you the state has been
By how
collecting
much?
less and less money. I mean, it's been over the last years. I don't know. I'd have to go back. I'm not prepared to tell you the exact amounts, but it's definitely more than zero. Okay, it's not. But,
Okay, well, I would expect that.
Yeah,
But
but I mean, it's probably
is it more than
maybe
30?
15, 20%, something
Okay.
like that in some of the years, because when the state was hit hard and the economy was hit hard, that money was less coming in for sure. And of course, then the cities have to make up that difference,
But
which was budgeted.
would an adequate budget planning scenario be that you assume that, that your rate could fluctuate as much as 30%, and then plan for the worst case at the beginning of the year?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all agree that that would be a better approach, to do it at the beginning of the year. Is there anything wrong, really technically, with GAAP or government standards as to how that's being done? There isn't anything out there that says you have to do it that way.
Okay. Were you folks, or were you aware of anybody who may have asked or otherwise compelled people to modify the items or information
No.
presented in your reports?
No.
Just to
nothing modified in our reports.
Okay.
I mean, our reports, there's, from what's been discussed, I don't see a change in what we have reported or what we have audited.
Okay,
It's
so-
the budget, it's the original budget to the final budget and the policy in reference to that.
So we're talking policy here, not procedure.
I believe so.
Can we get down to just some basic questions? And GAAP, what can you explain for the listeners? We're on YouTube, and for the audience, what GAAP is?
GAAP is generally accepted accounting principles.
Okay, and is GAAP law, or is it, or just principles that we choose to
It's
follow?
principles that you're required to follow because you have to issue, you're mandated under the state of Florida to issue a financial statement that's in accordance with GAAP. If it's not, then your auditors would be required to report that to the Auditor General. I don't know what this, I don't know what happens after that.
Okay, so one of the alarming things for us, I think, in our budget, it clearly said that in the draft budget that was prepared for us on August 1st, stated that GAAP principles were not followed in prior fiscal years. And it was right in the audit, in our draft budget. So that was pretty alarming to us. And I just wanted to know if you
So
wanted to comment on that.
they weren't followed on the original budget.
basically
They
says-
were not followed, I mean, the budget was not in accord, well, it's in accordance, yeah, I mean, it's a little, I mean, GAAP is not a budgeting principle. I mean,
But it's a requirement, you just said.
it's a requirement that
It's a requirement.
it's a requirement that your financial statements be in accordance with
There we go.
GAAP, is what I said.
There we go.
Your financial statements be in accordance with GAAP.
Correct. And what she just read was that they were not.
Well,
No,
according
that's
to our
the budget.
yeah.
She said the budget was not in accordance with GAAP.
Okay.
She didn't say the financial
Okay.
statements.
Oh,
were
your
not-
stuff. Got it. Okay.
And so,
Yeah, the stuff that you give us at the
Yes,
end of the year.
Yes.
so you could see where there might be some confusion. Because what I'm hearing, and I'm hearing it pretty loud and clear, is that we've done it a cleaner way this year by putting the 175, 185 in a separate line item. But in the past, it was a management decision to do it differently. It has nothing to do with the auditors, the audit. It was a management decision to do it that way. And that's all there is to it. How are we doing it a cleaner, better way? Absolutely. But it is what it is.
And if you didn't have enough revenue to cover all the expenses that you expended, it's our responsibility to report that.
Right.
And we've done that in the past.
Well, Mr. Malucki, I think every time he saw a fairly significant sum of money move from one appropriation line to another appropriation line, and saw that variance, he mentioned red flag. When you looked at the variances in our original budget compared to the final budget, did those variances cause you any concern?
Again, the original budget is provided to council. There's public hearings. It goes through all that process. Not resolution, what's the budget amendments go to council in detail. They go to public hearing and they're approved. So do they cause me any concern? I understand the process. We audit a significant number of governments. They budget differently. It's a management decision as to how it's done. I don't know how many governments Mr. Malecki audited or has audited in his career. I mean, I know he's done a lot of forensic work, but I don't know what audit work he's done. You know, we go to 80 hours of continuing education every 2 years strictly on audit and governmental auditing. Each one of my auditors do that, okay? We go to the FGFOA conference where the Auditor General is speaking. He's always talking about what the issues are in the state of Florida. We stay up with that. We try and stay up with as much as we can. Frankly, we look to make sure that the budget was approved in the beginning. There was an approval of the amendments, and we compared the budget to the actual. We feel like management has some responsibility, and we rely on management. We rely on council.
Did any of your audit managers, I guess the people that come here to actually audit Satellite Beach, did any of them ever express a concern to you about
The budget?
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
no. They did not.
Yeah, I would just offer that it wasn't Mr. Malucki that created this issue. It was the fact that our professional budget director felt compelled to note in this new budget, the first budget that this council looked at, that there had been quite a discrepancy that she was obviously very concerned about. That's what caused the issue.
Well, but we were asked to listen to Mr. Malecki's tape and then come here and respond. So, we didn't go back through the whole process.
And I can tell you, if you look at the governmental entities and you look at their budget to actuals, right, many of them have very significant variances. It is not unusual. You will see original to final budgets vary quite a bit.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was.
About 10 years ago, there were cities that didn't have any difference. They were spot on, not a penny difference. Because you could amend your budget up through June, I think is when it was.
So that was the final to actual.
Yeah.
Original budget.
Oh, yeah. So, but now at least we have because of state law, it's got to stop someplace. We used to be finished with an audit and say you're over budget, and they said no, hold off, we're taking another budget amendment to council.
So then you don't have to write us up for being over on our actual to budget comparison that we talked about in the expenditures, but they found the Auditor General's office said we don't like this, so they put the 60-day rule in. And so that's why now you have 60 days to amend your budget. And normally then when we audit, if you're over, you see we write you up as we did in 2010.
It's November 28th.
Yeah,
I saw that.
Go ahead.
Your firm does auditing for other municipalities. Do you specialize in governmental auditing?
we do a significant number.
Majority of it?
Yeah.
So the way I understand, there's several different ways to apply GAAP principles. There's not just one specific way. There's a couple different ways that could be correct, be legal or acceptable.
We're talking about the budget, how the budget's prepared, and how the GAAP financial statements are prepared. And there is some flexibility in that. Not everything is defined down to the nth degree, and management has some ability to take the authoritative documentation in reference to GAAP and government and financial statements and make some determinations.
And you say you do different levels of auditing for cities. For us, you kind of do...
I didn't say we do different for cities. I said we've done for other governments, which it's not been cities. The work that we do for cities is virtually the same that we do here.
And nothing beyond the scope of this necessarily.
Nothing beyond.
Because a lot of the disclaimer is, it's the management's responsibility to make sure they maintain internal controls and follow laws and things like that. And I think that was a couple of the issues like the transfer from CRA for police and fire had things, and we thought maybe you should have caught that or at least commented on that, or this 175, 185 monies, those type of things. But you're saying that you don't do that as part of your service for our city. Should we have a firm, your firm or another firm, that goes to a different level to kind of oversee some of that, or no?
You can. I mean, it's a cost-benefit ratio in reference to that. I mean, how much does that cost? Other governments have an internal auditor, an internal audit function, where the internal audit reports to council, not to management, and they provide certain functions. That's what we've done for other governments, okay? Not cities. The city of Melbourne has an internal auditor. City of Melbourne has an internal auditor, full-time internal auditor, but they've got, 30 people in their accounting department between the utility services that they provide and, the payables and just the number of funds and the number of transactions. So yeah, you can do that. You can ask anybody to come in and do agreed upon procedures if you've got a current concern. It's kind of what you did with Mr. Malecki, is he came in and did some agreed upon procedures for you. But, I mean, you just have to look at the cost benefit and the risk that is there. Yeah, the safeguards that are there. I mean, the city of Satellite Beach is a very, very small administrative department. In the past, we commented because there was a lack of segregation of duties. The accountant did everything, including reconcile the bank. And, there was nobody that looked over the shoulder. Over the years, that's been changed. The controls have been increased. Yeah, can they be increased? Yeah. Can policies and procedures be set up and documented? And this is the way we do it. And if it's not the way we do it, why aren't we doing it that way? Yeah. So, does that answer your question, Scott?
One additional question, because Scott had brought it up, and I think, Debbie, I'm going to answer this question of you, because the CRA issue has been just a huge issue here. Did the city ever consult with your firm or with you regarding those allegations for police and fire before those allocations were made in 2003 and 4?
Are you talking about the 175?
No, the CRA transfer for police and fire, the allocation.
I would not make a decision or tell anybody how to do things. If anything, I give them research on something, and then I say, here is the research. Now you make the decision, because that's where I get in trouble stepping in as an auditor and doing consulting for management. So I really can't tell them, do it this way. It's just not right for me to do that. I can say, here's the literature, and that's the way I present it. Here's the rules. Now you look at it, you make the decision, and you decide.
Were you ever asked about Florida Statute 163 back in those days?
Not from the standpoint, I mean, we look at the CRA from the standpoint of the expenditure being spent for the restricted.
Yeah, make sure the pluses equal to minuses, I got that, but as far as...
Does it appear to be for restricted type purposes, does it appear to be benefiting the CRA? But other than that, we weren't involved in auditing more detail. In fact, I think we do maybe even more by looking at it in that way than others do.
I think it's really clear, and we talked about this a lot with the CRA. We are a governing body. It's a tough job. We really have a lot of responsibility, and it's our responsibility. It's also management is not just the city manager, but it's also your department heads to manage the city and to do things properly. And in this case, I think the way that the budget was set up in the past years was a management decision. Could it have done things done cleaner in a more concise manner? Absolutely. Absolutely. I went back and reviewed the audits I had picked up. They had noticed it, I guess, as a variance before that in 2010 or 11, and I had highlighted it. So nothing changed after that because it was a management decision not to change it. Hopefully, this council wants to do things in a cleaner way or wants to change the procedure. And
Obviously, we
things.
do. That's why we're in this. That's why we're here.
But again, your management is your upper level staff and the
It
city
did
manager.
change a little bit though, because the overspending in 10 did not occur again in 11, is that right?
Right, it was corrected. And then I just want to say also that, I do have this memo, it went around in 2011 where, from Brenda to the city managers, saying prior to the allocations that Brenda had spoke with the auditor and calculations were made regarding the percentage allocation back to the general fund for both police and fire services. Also involved in the initial allocation process was Greg Luger, who is the Merritt Island Redevelopment Agency Coordinator. And I spoke with Greg, and he wasn't involved either. So, I understand things may have been different in the past, but we need to move forward and correct them if need to be. I just wanted to bring that forward because I understand their position is not to manage the city, it's to do a financial audit of the city.
See how we did.
So then am I to understand, Ann, that this was a false alarm at the beginning? Because as I recall, it was quite an emotional event when we looked at that budget and we saw the
asterisk,
and then Brenda's response.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily call it a false alarm. I would call it a cleanup as far as management decision is made so that council can see what, very clearly and cleanly what we're dealing with. And I think in order to produce the best budget you can, that has to be that transparency and accountability.
I concur, and I'm glad that Brenda brought it up. But it seemed pretty egregious at the time. But now we're being told that it's not egregious; it's just a different way of doing business.
A different way of doing business. There are lots of ways of doing business, and I think as transparent and as open as possible has to be the best way.
And it will stop some amendments, some budget
The amendment.
that
We
we're trying
have,
to do.
this council has not only done one budget amendment all year. That really concerns me. That's just not normal going through an entire year with no budget amendments yet.
When Mr. Malucki was here, I did not open it for public comment. I would like to continue that. I think that we know 175 and 185. Is that okay? Chaz, Debbie, I thank you for spending the time with us and clearing up a lot and doing the paperwork. And we hope to see you back in March. Okay, thank you. Thank you for coming. Did you
She never talks.
Hey, at the beginning, I did, the council agreed that we were going to move up citizen recognition, which included introduction of guests and citizen comments to the next item. Okay, so with that, is there anyone here for the first time? Any new people? All right, thank you. So I have three people for citizen comments, Dee Anderson, Kathleen, and Gabe. So, Dee, welcome.
I came here tonight, and
Name and residence.
Dee Anderson. I've lived here for 42 years.
Thank you.
I came here tonight, and this afternoon, I got a call from a friend who came to the council meeting last night. I was so angry that I thought I wouldn't come, and I came anyway. I have something I'd like to say. Last night, at a council meeting across the political forum across the way, one of the councilmen accused the council that had sat before them of misappropriating funds and various other illegal activities, and said no charges were made against them because it would cost the city too much money. Millions, they believed. My daughter Martha Kirby was on this council, and I take exception that she would be accused of such a thing. I do believe that this is a libelous statement. It could end up in court. I think an apology should be given to her and everyone who sat on the council to clear this up. My daughter is a decent person. She is suffering from leukemia, has a difficult time, or she would be here tonight. I'm here to defend her. As her mother, I take offense at this, and I don't forgive the person who did it.
Thank you. Kathleen?
Kathleen Arcarola, Southern Beach resident. Just with respect to this lady's comment, I wanted there to be legal action and the city manager to be fired, funds taken away from him, etc. But if you were there, you would collectively understand that we're going to take care of the problem the right way, save the city some embarrassment, and not put blame on any one particular person because it was all voted on by a panel. But I do agree that the city manager running the ship with the lawyer, and ultimately at the end of the day, those two probably should have been held accountable. Another note, I went to the forum yesterday. Thank you. It was really nice. I was a little disappointed that the other three candidates weren't there, Gott, Brimmer, and Catino. I'm not sure why. I'm unable to make the next one, so it would have been nice. I mean, we have, what, three presidential debates, a vice president debate, and something else, so there's lots of those to see. So the more the merrier, the more we learn as citizens. But thank you for presenting that. It was helpful to me because, again, I'm going to miss the second one, maybe. Just one other quick thing. I've been working really hard and diligently with several of the council people and the people that were nice enough to work the last KPEG meeting. And also I've been in communication with our city manager and our recreation manager. I had no idea that the skate and dog park was going to be discussed tonight. No notice or anything except for the nicety of my council people sending me the agenda. You can't expect a citizen to put in that many hours and do that much work and research that the city should probably be doing themselves on their own budget, and then not even give them the common courtesy of a phone call or email telling them that you might want to show up tonight after I just sat for 3 hours in last night's thing and I had hip surgery. So I'm here again tonight. I hope it doesn't happen to another person again. But when we offer that agenda, I'll be here to speak for that. But please let people know that are working on things for the city, especially when it comes to saving money and doing things for the best of our community. And it's not even give them a tip off or let them know after all that time. This is really disrespectful and unfortunate. Thank you.
Gabe?
Gabe Fine, resident. I would like to, of course, the council is already aware of it. I didn't know they were until just a moment ago, that a council member has accused previous council and even our current sitting mayor of fraud and misappropriation of city funds, and they should all be in jail. There's a recording of this statement. It is my understanding it was said is not his opinion, but a statement of fact. I believe it is that council member's duty to immediately report any crime that has been committed in the city and to pursue prosecution of the people involved. Okay. I personally believe that these people have been maligned, they have been defamed, and the council member could face a lawsuit for his comments. He stated them as facts, not as opinions. These council members that serve our city deserve an apology. should be in a written statement in a public forum, because that's how it was done when they were accused of these misdeeds. And even our current mayor was maligned in that matter. The mayor and the other council members and I didn't always agree, as I don't now. But I always found them to be honorable, people of integrity, and they served the city of Satellite Beach to the best interest of the citizens as they saw it fit at that time. At the council meeting on the 3rd of October, a council member made this statement, and I will quote, "I cherish and encourage publicly and openly debating issues, policies, fiscal matters, etc. Publicly standing up for what you believe in and opening yourself to add to debate is what made our country great." I couldn't agree more. And I was not even going to come tonight. I was not even going to speak tonight until late this evening I got this information. I think and wonder, is it character assassination to bring to the attention of the public that members of this council made numerous attempts, I don't mean one, I mean numerous attempts to violate the citizens' First Amendment rights? I defy anybody to deny that. Is it character assassination to let the public know that current members of council are so corrupt that they attempted to corrupt an honorable police chief to fix DUI? Is it character assassination to let the public know that a member of council that is running for council for re-election failed to get the proper licensing to run his business? The same council member viciously attacked on more than one occasion citizens for mere simple little comments. I think not. I don't think that there's character assassination. I just let the public know the truth. The truth is the truth. And we must know who the liars are and who are telling the truth. When appointed to council, members of council stated we were specifically looking for someone that did not wish to run for election. It was said, and the council member that was appointed said he was not really interested in running for election. He would rather work from this side of the podium. I think he should be true to his word and withdraw. I do not think for one moment that some members of council that are running for election, at least two members of council that are running for re-election.
Your 5 minutes are up.
Okay. Thank you very much for listening. I appreciate it. Unfortunately, I cannot stay tonight to listen to the vitriol that I'm about to receive from council members after I leave during council comments.
I don't think that's true, Gabe.
It's been a long day.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 4. Jim, I'm going to ask you to read ordinance number 1058.
Ordinance number 1058, an ordinance of the City of Satellite Beach, Brevard County, Florida, imposing a moratorium on the enforcement of the city's sign code on certain types of temporary signs, providing findings, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. It's the second reading of ordinance number 1058.
Thank you. And for John. John, good evening.
Good evening, all. As you know, this is the second reading for ordinance 1058, the moratorium on the enforcement of certain prohibited temporary signs.
I really don't have much more to add to this, and we've already been over several times. It's been reviewed by the Planning and Zoning Board on several occasions. Our planning consultant, Jim LaRue, has looked at it for consistency with the comp plan. The CRA has had an opportunity to look at it, and it's back before the City Council for second reading.
John, I have one question.
Yes.
I know that the P&Z also changed political signs, but that is not part of this, that the political signs can be bigger, you can have banner signs. Is that part of this ordinance?
No, sir, it's not. There was several recommendations for code issues to be looked at by the city attorney that came out of a conference he attended, and that recommendation on the political signs kind of segued into those recommendations.
I don't mean political positive or negative. I mean the size of
Right. Yeah, there is a recommendation out there, and it will eventually come forward with several recommendations to the sign code, but that is independent of this right here.
Okay, this is just small businesses.
This is specific to that temporary sign.
So you're saying political signs will be dealt with independent of our current sign code?
Yes, there's.
Separately?
Yes, it'll be dealt with independently of this.
Separate from this one.
I was going to say,
This amendment is separate from this amendment.
I think we should stick to what just this is. And this is the temporary signs per the business community discussion.
Correct.
Yeah, correct.
I just wanted to make sure we weren't changing the game now politically. Okay, I'd like to open ordinance number 1058 for a second reading. This has been on the table since March 21st. Okay, I see no one. Oh, I'm just kidding you, Pat. I knew you were going to say something. And Steve, I'll get
Jack Evans, resident. Just real quick, I've been doing a lot of walking and talking the last couple of weeks, and overall, I think the small businesses out there very appreciative of this opportunity, which is what it is. To play by the rules, understand that. They'll be coming in and getting their permits, and I'm going to be, I told them that I would come and visit and go over any questions, any concerns, any thoughts. Also had a chance to talk to many residents, and I see a positive side from that aspect as well. You know, the residents of this community, they like their small businesses, they really do. They support them. But as far as, hey, council, taking a look at this, extending out, reaching out to small businesses, that's the tone I got from the owners. And also the Planning and Zoning Board, what a job those guys did. And I think I saw Trevor Lowy here tonight and the rest of them. So, thanks.
Thank you, Pat. Steve?
Steve Headley, resident. Two things. Years ago in the Tour de France, there was a French champion by the name of Bernard Hinault. And you're wondering what that has to do with anything. His nickname was the Badger. There's a guy who just spoke back here who has been the Badger on this issue. From March, he has worried this issue like a bone, and we should give him some thanks. Pat and I don't always agree. Not everyone does. But on this issue, even if I disagree with him, his persistence has been rewarded, and it's a golf clap from me. The other thing is, though, in regard to that, he's been dealing with this issue since February or March. Why? We talk about other processes and speeding things up. We got to look at streamlining this somehow, or an issue that is time sensitive, in a sense, takes 9 months to get here, or 8 months to get here. We got to look back at that somehow. And I realize with an election, nobody wants to really do that. But once again, kudos to Pat. Let's speed the process up so he doesn't have to worry another bone for another couple of years.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Michelle?
Michelle French, resident. Just a question. Nothing was ever discussed about a fee structure for the permits. I'm just...
Zero.
Okay.
Zero.
That's
But 90
great.
days, yes.
I'm thrilled to hear that.
But we want the permit so that we can control in case it's not
Sure.
taken in at night, some other things.
Sure. Great idea, thank you.
Kathleen?
I'm for the idea, but I don't like, Kathleen, our Corolla resident. I'm for the idea, but I'm not really into all the signs because I think it's going to get crazy and out of line. But I had to pay $40 to redo this little small gate on the side of my house because the hurricane blew it down. My wood, my fence, my house, my taxes. We're kind of tight on money. I don't see why we don't charge $10 or $15 or $5 or something that people are going to put these signs up. I don't want to look at them. I'd feel better if the city was making a little bit of money off of it. But we don't have any more free lunches, guys, so do you think maybe you could think about that?
Well, you presented it, thank you.
Or is it too late? Do I need to make a motion, Mr. Billman?
No, you can't.
Can I make a motion?
No, well,
Gotta say, here to make a motion.
run for office.
Be a great new procedure.
John, can you just do one thing for the council? And I didn't know this. What is a moratorium? I mean, the purpose of a moratorium is not 1 year dead.
It's true, and you know, I might refer this one to the city attorney because he has, him and I had a difference of opinion, and thank you, Jim, for straightening me out on it. So a moratorium, from the way I looked at it, was that it was holding off on any kind of enforcement of that particular issue, which in this case we had some prohibited signs that we're talking about. So they were going to be allowed to put them out there, and we were not going to pursue enforcement against them. To speak more to, I think the general referred to it, is a period of time that has an end game to it for the purposes of studying the impact of not enforcing that. Jim, do you have any?
Yeah, so it's not really that it's over in a year, is that if you look at it, if it's been working, you extend it. Is that correct?
Basically, what a moratorium is for purposes of what we're dealing with is both of the concepts that John's talking about. Because the general context of how this came up was, let's give it a year and see how it works out. So moratorium basically stops the enforcement, that part of it's correct, stops the enforcement of the code for that period of time in order to do the evaluation.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'll bring it back to the council.
Well, I think in the interest of speeding this ordinance along, I'd like to make a motion to accept ordinance 1058 in the second reading.
And in accordance with Steve's wishes, I second it.
All right, I have a motion by Councilman French, second by Councilman Billman. Any discussion?
Yeah, I will just again put my thoughts on the record. I think that, this community is comprised of 10,000 residents, not just small businesses. This whole issue came up because there were issues with temporary signs out in the right-of-way that were in the DOT right-of-way. And the feedback I'm getting back is that they don't want these little temporary signs all along their corridor. So I'm not in favor of it, and I'm not going to support it.
Okay. Well, but it was my understanding that
I
part
don't
of...
want to discuss it. We discussed it enough. I'm just putting my...
But we're not going to be in the right-of-way.
Can I just say something? The way you said that, it sounds like you're, about small businesses, but I know for a fact you are very much in favor of small businesses.
Absolutely, yeah.
I want to make that point too, because, the way that came out, it says, and I want to go on record and say...
Yeah, I'm an advocate for small businesses. Of course, a lot of my friends have businesses in town, but there's also a lot of residents and business owners who, one of my good girlfriend's best friends is putting up a sign right now, a monument sign to conform with the rest of the community, and she's not in favor of these small little, come here for a sandwich, an hour here, hour there signs. So they're very expensive. A lot of people complied with the monument sign requirements, and a sign doesn't make a business makes the business. So.
Thank you for those comments. Lenore?
Councilman Dean?
No.
Vice Mayor Rhodes?
Yes.
Councilman Billman?
Yes.
Councilman French?
Yes.
Mayor Ferrante?
Yes, and the motion passes 4-1. John, is your office ready for permits tomorrow?
We are ready to go.
Okay, because I think you may get some. All right. Okay, thank you very much, John. Thank you to P&Z. Pat. Thank you. All right, agenda item number 5 is financial reporting. Is this just what we're going to do? Is this what you want to get, or?
What Brenda Raver, Finance Director, is going to do is she's going to explain that we are going to have a fourth quarter budget amendment coming up for first and second reading, and she's also going to discuss, if you remember, the discussion was about quarterly reports requested by council, and Brenda's going to speak to that also, just to give you a format of how that will be occurring.
Good evening, Brenda.
We're going to have a within the 60 days of the fiscal year end. The first reading is requested for the 19th of November, that we get to meet tonight. And then the conference meeting that night.
Are these special meetings?
Yes, the 19th is on a Monday.
The 19th is not a regularly scheduled meeting. The
Why are we
28th
doing
is.
a budget amendment on it? Why are we setting special meetings for this? At a holiday season time, I'm not.
Well, the only thing, it has to be done, we can pick any two.
When
We have to have it done by 60 days.
I understand that, but why, you have to pick a regular meeting, it's
Well, the only council meeting we have is the 7th, and I don't know if it'll be ready.
The 28th is the second reading, that's scheduled for the 28th already.
I think what the concern is several people want to keep, even the city wants to keep Thanksgiving week open.
It's not just that, it's just we've had special meeting after special meeting after special meeting after special meeting. City needs to conduct their business on regular
Well,
meeting times.
As much as possible.
As much as possible.
It won't be available on the 7th.
28th?
Yeah, but that's only the first reading. We have to have two readings. Do the readings have to be 14 days apart?
Yes, for an ordinance, 2 weeks.
The North, this is not 2 weeks apart.
No.
No, it isn't.
8, 9, 10 days.
I think 10 days.
Is it 10 days?
I think that's correct.
I thought it was 2 weeks in the code.
10 work days or 10 days total?
Lenore, do you know that answer?
Yeah.
Because if so, then we'd have to have it on the 14th or so.
You've got the 19th, so you don't include that day. It would be on the 9th day. You
Okay.
might have a meeting like maybe on the 29th then.
No.
Or you have to go earlier and say the 15th or the 14th of.
14th and the 28th?
Yeah.
Is that, have you looked at the amendment? Is it going to be large? I mean, the 14th, can you make the 14th? That gives you 30 days, almost 30 days. Well, we already had, we're going to have the transition of the council
On the 28th?
on the 28th, and that's kind
Yeah.
of, I think, something that we voted on at the last meeting. And I don't know, we were counting, but I don't know if that counts business days or just regular days.
He said just counts.
It's 10 calendar days.
10 calendar.
We can move that to the 29th.
Yeah, it would be.
All right, what's the council thinking? You can look at November.
It sounds like we're going to have at least one day that's a special.
That's right.
So why don't we do that? Why don't we have one day that's a special day and then the second?
Brenda, can I ask you a question? November 8th is a CRA meeting. Well, it's either the 7th, you can't have it for the 8th.
Okay.
Good try. I was trying, oh, and that's close to the 7th, yeah.
The point I'm trying to make is we do a lot of special meetings, and, I mean, this is customary city business, and we're holding a special meeting for it. We've done a lot of special meetings this summer and into the fall, so.
And it can't be done, the second reading can't be the first meeting in December, eh?
No.
We've already verified that with the auditors.
The 29th is the 60th day.
Yeah, we don't want to do that. One, two, three. So there's no way to get it done by the 7th then? Okay. Okay.
14th, 15th.
Well, then what about the 14th?
We're going to meet here.
No?
Yeah, this is a regular meeting.
That's true, legal ad.
Brenda, can you be ready on the 14th? Did you just ask that?
Yeah.
Oh, missed it.
Still have to have it done by the 7th, and I'll have everybody on the 15th.
16th?
said it's 10 calendar days.
Yeah, 10 calendar, so that's the 18th, which is a Sunday.
Saturday morning?
Should be just, I take it, a relatively short meeting, eh?
Oh, yeah, it's really, depends on the council. So,
But it's to make the actual statements that we looked at tonight for the budget, right? I mean, to make what we went in with and what is actual.
yes, it's the final.
You're making it right at the end of the year thing that they were talking about, yeah.
So we got to get to the date.
So like the 19th for the first one, and then have the second one on the regular meeting on the 28th?
That's the 29th.
Yeah, it's not going to be,
It has to be the 29th.
You don't, if you hold the first hearing on the 19th, it has to be the 29th.
Right.
16th, no can do?
We can move it.
You could, Friday, 16?
Well, it is better because then Thanksgiving week is, I mean, it's one of the things that we try to do.
Like about 4, maybe?
Yeah.
That'd be, depends, it's fine with us, it's up to council.
Do the 16th at 5. Is that, I'm sorry. I know. Well,
You're retired, but I'm not.
no, I, oh, 16th at 6?
Yeah.
16th at 7?
It has to be.
Just tell me what you're thinking. I mean, what do you want to do?
15th,
I know
unable
you
the
don't want
15th?
special- We can't get there for the 7th.
yeah,
15th. Thursday.
Okay. Is it, what time?
6.
Okay, 15,
Okay.
6. Thank you. I'm not really. Yes. 28th is good. Let's talk about the quarterly reports that have been requested on a quarterly basis.
In your package, you're supposed to look at figures making total. So, in your package, I'll have you circles around the dates. So that it can be on.
Yours are colorful, mine's not.
Yeah, ours is black and white.
That's the way to go. Now we're talking.
So what kind of date are we looking at, did you circle?
So for fiscal year 12-13, which is wonderful budget that you guys have passed, on February 1st of 2013, draw a circle around that date. That will be the first, which is your normal council meeting, will be the first quarterly financials that you'll receive for October, November, December of 2012. Then on May 2nd will be the next quarter, January, February, March of 2013, which is also a regular council meeting. August 1st, you circle that date. That'll be April, May, and June, that quarter. And then on December, with the permission of the auditors, it will be the end of December, so that week, the last week of December, the 24th through the 31st, for July, August, and September. Because we will have, again, the 60-day window in November, and then by the time we get the final entries in there, and then the other.
Why don't you wrap the quarterly with the annual there in November?
Well, I want to get their approval to let it go out with final information before the auditors get their final A-OK.
What was the December date again?
The last week of December.
Be a special meeting on the
Christmas
25th. 10 o'clock, Christmas week? You know, when you get to that, maybe you should decide that.
No, that's not going to be,
A special
Not a
meeting.
special meeting or anything. No. That's going to be when you'll receive.
Yeah, but I doubt there's going to be a council meeting the week of Christmas.
No. I'm saying that's when you'll have those, the last quarterly reports.
Yeah, but it's going to be presented in a council meeting, right? All those, we're going to be presenting these quarterly reports in a council meeting?
Well, you'll have the normal November adjustment, quarterly
Right.
adjustments.
Right.
But for the actuals to be released to you, you know, in a quarterly statement, it'll be the end of December instead of like
Brenda,
August 1st, May 2nd.
can I just make a recommendation? February 1st, May 2nd, August 1st, I think that those are golden. The other ones you should play by ear, because there's going to be a new budget, there's going to be a there's going to be a budget amendment, there's going to be a lot of things going on in there, so I wouldn't think.
Why don't we wait till January 16th of 2014? I'm sorry, 2013, rather, for the fourth quarter. That would be the 2014, right?
It would be 2014.
I'm sorry, is it 2014? Yeah.
Because you may even talk about the fourth quarter by that
It
time.
might not even be the right date. Let me just.
Let's just go with those. Is that all right?
But
We're
January.
just going to go with
first
those
meeting in
three.
January would probably be.
And then the other one, keep in the back of your mind. Thanks for doing that for us.
Yeah, I like that idea of the quarterly thing. That's going to be great.
And then just one thing too, if you notice on the cover that we've all adopted, I would like to start seeing the fiscal impact being put into the line. We haven't seen that, and it's really important. That's one of the reasons why we adopted the form, because it tells us what the fiscal impact is for each item that we're discussing. So.
Instead of the word none,
Well, yeah, none or there's nothing in there, yeah.
there's none. Every time there's none.
I know for this item, but for other items.
For others? Okay, thank you, Brenda. Do you have anything else tonight that, on stormwater utility fund? Okay, agenda item number 6, you wanted to discuss some, just the statements, right? The difference, okay, Jim? Why did this come up? Is there a difference in language of a trust fund and a utility fund? Is that what happened? Okay, so this just clarifies that. Go ahead, Jim.
The issue is raised as to whether or not there should be a separate trust fund for the stormwater utility and what that nomenclature actually means. And so I did some brief research on whether I could find anything that said that a trust fund had to be maintained as a separate account, or whether it's just an accounting mechanism within your budget to include that. I could find nothing from a legal context as to what a trust fund had to entail, so I suggested that Brenda contact the City of Gainesville, because I know the City of Gainesville had at least 3 cases go to the Supreme Court regarding their utility fund litigation regarding their utility funds. And I assumed that if there were any issues that anyone was going to raise, that would have been potentially an issue that would have been raised to defeat how it was being utilized. Brenda did contact Gainesville, and I'll defer to her as to what communication she had, but I guess the summary is that the city of Sally Beach is essentially handling it within their budget, similarly to what the City of Gainesville is, but I'll defer that to Brenda.
Can I add, though, basically, did you look at, this came up because I brought it up, Chapter 52? In Chapter 52, it just says that the stormwater utility fund, there shall be established a stormwater utility fund for the deposit of all fees collected pursuant to this chapter, and then it says that the money shall be held in trust. That's all. It's right in our code.
Oh, that, yeah.
Yeah. So that's the issue. I mean, if it's not being held in a trust or whatever, then we need to change the language in the code.
And I saw that, yeah. I didn't, when she said Chapter 52, I'm thinking statute, not the code. But yeah, I did read that, and I know where you're coming from with that, but that's why I'm saying I just looked up to see whether there was any term of art as to what a trust fund meant, or what you had to do with a trust fund, and there wasn't, and again, that's why I just suggested that Brenda contact Gainesville to find out how they dealt with it.
Jim, what's the bottom line, is that we are okay?
Yes.
With the name?
Okay. And I agree with Cheryl that maybe we
need to look at that.
If we do a house clean, just a general house cleaning ordinance, just delete the word trust from the current code provision.
Okay.
So that's really all there was to it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Brenda.
And that's all I
Are
really
you here for
requested.
Are you here for anything else?
Well, I really don't think we would need to do that, you know, like things that change, you know, like in your own type work, you know, when you certify a plan, or when you do on a plan, and something changes in your, nomenclatures on plans going forward, does that invalidate plans that you sealed and signed years ago? You know, it's that type of thing where in the nomenclature for our accounting profession, that trust funds no longer are set up that way. They are now set up a different way because under GASB, those changes have occurred starting now and going forward. Does that mean now every city, county, and state have to go back and amend all of their ordinances and codes because of this new change?
That's a question for Jim, it's a legal question.
And that's not what happens. So it would be the same thing in your profession or any other profession, or even in law. They don't go back retroactive. So it's the same kind of thing in accounting. They just like.
Well, I understand your principle, but we're talking about our ordinance.
Talking about a different
We're
thing.
we're talking about two different things.
A totally different thing. It's not to change anything else, it's just a word.
But even in like states that they have trust funds that are the same.
Brenda, it's not, it's just, I'd be happy to glad.
It just seems like a lot of work.
Thank you. Agenda item number 8, Cassia Boulevard pavers change order. And Ann?
This is Alan Potter to speak about this, and I'm just going to let him take it away.
Hello, Alan.
Good evening, everybody. How are we?
Good.
This agenda item in front of you has fiscal impact. Just pointing that out.
Not enough.
Actually, this was approved by the CRA. It's for the adding the brick pavers to the Cassia sidewalk project or the drainage project. It was approved for up to $73,000, which the pavers were estimated at $66,433. With an approximate 10% contingency added in for a total of $73,000. And that's all I have.
Where's the money coming from?
CRA.
Okay. The council have any questions?
No, but just one housekeeping issue, because I know we're all under a microscope and everybody's nitpicking at us from all directions. CRA doesn't encompass all of the area along Cassia, but because this is a contiguous project from the north, east to the west, CRA funds can pay for it. It just needs to be noted in the file for
It
adoption.
actually meets our CRA number 2 goal of safety. Right?
Right.
Because it's a
Because
crosswalk.
one may
Absolutely,
question that not
absolutely.
the entire length of Cassia is in the CRA, but because it's one project in the western portion leading to the eastern portion, we can pay for things outside of.
Okay,
I
believe you.
I just, I
For the record.
have one question. I did not make that CRA meeting because it was added onto something. Pavers and wheelchairs, pavers and bikes, pavers and runners. Did you guys discuss that? Was it okay?
Yeah, they're all good, it's all good.
Okay, wheelchairs.
Yeah, I don't think there's ever been, there's not any issues that I know of because of the way they do the pavers now.
Because they're going to be flush, right?
Yes.
Right.
Because kids died on that. Did you bring that up?
Well, no, but I got a phone call or something from some citizens who, when they read my notes, said, well, we don't want those big old pavers sticking up and drive over them. And I said, I don't think that's it. I think it's flush with the ground.
No, this is not Savannah. This is not River Street in Savannah.
There you go.
I'll get to it in a minute.
Yeah. One thing I do want to correct, when I spoke to the CRA about the north-south connections, there was one that we talked about across time, but actually there's going to be 3. There's going to be Time, Kale, and Temple, and so I think that'll add quite a bit to the project.
Hey, that's a great idea, actually, but what's the status on the little bridges to get across the ditch? Because I know
Yes,
there was an ADA.
Actually, that was built into the plan, because we had them built in so that we could get across and clean out the drainage structures on the swale on the south side. So they were actually built in conjunction with, well, they were included in the plan so that we could get and they were just grass berms, basically. So there's no issues with ADA. We're not trying to provide a sidewalk. So we're just going to make sure that they're firm enough so that folks that have bicycles, wheelchairs, whatever, walkers, don't have a problem with the transition, and we're not held to any ADA standard.
Okay. And then update on the landscaping?
The landscaping will be coming it was approved by the beautification board and will be going to the CRA at the next CRA meeting.
Board for Cassia.
Did the CRA pick a color of the pavers?
They're going to match the
same as the beach.
Actually, I picked the same, as close to the same color as the ones that are already in place at Grant and DeSoto.
Completion time is going to be before Christmas, maybe?
We spoke about that today, and hopefully we'll be done by mid-November.
Very good.
And Alan, wasn't part of this funding going to come out of the current project? I mean, because of the efficiencies that you found and the savings, that was going to fund part of this, I thought?
Well, not the paver part, because we hadn't planned on that, but the paving itself, we're able to do more paving because of the savings that we realized through the project.
Okay. All right. I'd like a motion and a second, and then I'll go to public comment.
Kind of a dumb question. Why does it, if it's an expenditure of the CRA, why is it even in front of us?
Because we
included in the project.
The contract is with the city.
Oh, with the change orders. Okay.
Right.
It's not what's, okay.
I'll make a recommendation to approve the change order for Cassia Boulevard paver project.
I'll second it.
I have a motion by Vice Mayor Rhodes, second by Councilman Billman. Any public comment? Kathleen?
Kathy Rockwell, Sergeant President. Well, I don't know why you wouldn't wait till you have the citizen comment, because it might be something someone might say to change your mind.
Well, it could be, because we haven't voted yet.
I know where Cassie is, but I'll be honest, I don't know where you're talking about the pavers are going to go. I see they're putting in a new sidewalk. Where are the pavers going? On top of the sidewalk?
Pavers, no. Pavers are going across the road at Laurel Street, across the road
Like the school crossing section, where the kids cross?
Well, that, yes.
In the crosswalk?
Right.
That's what they're going to be. They're going to be crosswalks, but they're going to be done in paver.
So we're just going to do our crosswalks and pavers, and the rest of the street's going to look the way it looks?
No, it's going to be repaved.
Yeah, the whole street's being repaved.
With paved, with asphalt,
sidewalk.
with asphalt.
Right.
And then every now and again, we're going to have this pretty decorative paver thing. I think that's going to look weird, but who's the contractor doing the work?
Same person who's doing it. Huh?
I
That's
don't
why
know.
we got the good deal.
Who is it?
Massey Construction.
And how many bids did you get?
I'm sorry?
How many bids did you get out of
This
it?
is a change order to the current project that we have.
And how many bids did you get on that?
We got probably,
Well, my only kind of, I know it's, I'm sorry. I know it's,
4 bids on, 3 or 4 bids.
I know it's CRA monies. I just think in the future, just to protect ourselves, we always get 3 bids. We don't always keep hiring the same people with the same money, and then we get into that situation 10 years down the road, and it becomes, my friend, my neighbor, nepotism kind of thing. So I think just as long as they put down who the bidders are, we pick the best one, there doesn't seem to be a repeat pattern. I think you're going to have a little trouble with that, because I was in a walker for my hip, whatever thing, and papers are no fun when you're on crutches or in a walker or have some kind of disability, whether it be temporary or full-time. And I think these kids are going to be tripping. They trip anyhow, just on the damn concrete, and I think they're going to be tripping on these crosswalks. But, thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Steve?
Steve Edley, still a resident. I just have a procedural question on this. There was a bid put out for $66,000 to do the pavers. Or that was what came back to do the pavers, 66 grand. The CRA then said we want to have a 10% contingency fund of 10%, taking the total of what we were willing to pay to $73,000. Now we're making a change order, not that reflects the bid price, but reflects the bid price and the contingency fund. The whole thing's in there at 73 grand. Why isn't it in there at 66? Because as far as I can determine, we haven't hit a contingency for the spending of the contingency fund.
Yeah, but if we didn't approve the 73, we would have to come back yet again to get the extra money if it went above 66, and 66 is just an estimate. So we were giving them latitude, kind of like we did with the fire truck and the engine. We gave the chief a certain amount of latitude so he wouldn't have to come back and delay the...
I understand that, sir. But the bid itself from Massey is for 66. They are locked into that. We aren't.
It's an estimate, not a bid, correct? No?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's a change order, not a bid. It's a change order to the contract.
But I got to tell you though, Steve, just when I know the way Mr. Potter works, it's 66. He's going to hold them to 66 instead, unless...
My question is this. If it comes in, I don't see where Massey...
I think, just like we did on the fire truck, we said you could spend up to $25,000 on that engine. It was $21,500, but we didn't know what the shipping exactly was going to be, so that if you go a little bit over, then they have to come back to us, and that's when it's...
I understand that. Okay, I understand that is a contingency from us. What we are saying to Massey is that they've got the contingency fund already. Unless you're telling me that the money gets paid out and then it can come back, unless they use all the 66 or 73,000. Is that what you're saying?
I don't think that they...
I'm just confused.
Yeah. No. I think what Stephen's saying is are we about to vote on a change order with a cost, period, dot, versus saying, are we about ready to vote on a change order that allows Allen to spend up to $73,000?
We are going to approve 66, 433.70. And then it says that includes contingency funds of 10%.
Okay, that was not
Yeah,
in the
that's the
agenda
point.
packet that I read.
Okay.
And that's my
It says
concern.
the estimated project cost was
Okay.
66,
So you-
433.70.
That's what I believe we're voting on.
Okay.
Is
So we're cool then.
yeah.
Okay, as long as, you know, it goes out to Massey at 66, and then he's got, Mr. Potter, has the ability to change if something happens. I've got no issues with that. I just don't like Massey getting a bid plus contingency.
He's not going to use it.
Right.
I'll ask.
No, he's not.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, sorry about
No,
that.
that's good. Any other comments? All right, at this time, we'll go for a vote, but I would ask the person that made the motion and the second, maybe to rather than say approval of change order, just say how much we're approving and the contingency fund, just to change the amendment.
Okay, I'll recommend the approval of the change order for the Cassia Boulevard paver project for $66,433.70 with a contingency of 10%, totaling $73,000.
And I'll modify my second.
Okay, so thank you. Lenore?
Councilwoman Dean?
Yes.
Councilman French?
Yes.
Councilman Bowman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rhodes?
Yes.
Mayor Fontaine?
Yes, and that motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Alan, thank you.
Thank you.
It looks beautiful. Kerry is up. Kerry, thank you. I would ask the council, Kerry has 3 items, 9, 10, and 11. We do have some people waiting for the skate park. City manager and council, if it's okay, can we move 11 to now?
Absolutely. Oops.
Do you have people?
Okay. Okay.
Do you have people come? Carrie, you have people coming?
There are some people from the dog park that would like to be here. I told them between 7:45 and 8, so they'll probably be here shortly.
Oh. Okay.
Well-
All right, Carrie, we will, okay, we'll wait the 5 minutes. All right. Agenda item, I'm sorry, Kathleen, okay, thank you. So, agenda item number 9, the pontoon boat and motor. You have something on that?
Yes, sir. We've done a little bit more research on trying to replace or get the current pontoon boat up and running. Kind of did a little chart because I was getting real confused. There's so many options, and then stay with the old boat, both the new motors. It's just mind-boggling. So what I think might be the best option is by the first meeting, y'all's first meeting in November, the director, the Samson Island Committee, and myself, the Public Works, and some knowledgeable local people in the city, will have recommendations to City Council for your review. Currently, we're obtaining pricing for used 2001 Crest pontoon boat that Public Works has looked at in very good shape for what we need it for. We wouldn't float on the river on the seas, but we don't need that. We're also looking at the purchase of a purchase price on state bid for a new motor. Now, the new motors can go in 3 ways. The new motor, if we were to use it, probably would have a life expectancy of 10 plus years, as our other motors did. You can put that on the old pontoon boat that we currently own. You can put it on the pontoon boat that we have found that's in use conditions that still newer than the one we have, or we can buy a new pontoon boat and put it on there. The Samson Island Committee had no real strong drive as to whether they had to have a new boat or could use the other boat, but they did ask that staff come back with a price for a new boat, new engine, and used boat, used engine. The used boat that we have located has a 91 mark on it. It's not working. The gentleman said he could get it working for us. We just talked about a 10-year life expectancy for most motors. It's a 90, I don't need 90 down there anyway, and it's already 10 years old. So I'm not real happy about putting that into a 10-year-old motor that's not working.
What was the cost for the boat? The boat, how much for the boat? How much did he want?
The used boat with the motor that they would say to get fixed was right around $7,000. Okay. But the boat without a motor was right around $4,000. So my thought is, grab and the boat that we have, the brackets underneath that are corroded, and so they're corroded. So the decking is not as bolted as it should be. So we figured maybe a 1 or 2 year life expectancy, if that, out of the existing pontoon boat.
And the government surplus motor is free, or is it just really cheap?
State bid is a purchasing avenue through the state of Florida, through the Florida purchasing. It's a new motor.
Okay.
But it has a 38.8% price reduction off the manufacturer bid price.
Okay.
So we looked at Hondas and Yamahas. It only needed 30 or 40 horsepower. I just can't see putting money into a 10-year-old 90 motor.
Now, and I think you were covered on the email too. I found a 22.5 pontoon boat with a working engine for $6,000. But I guess Mr. Baker came back and said it was a 1.5 feet too short, so I didn't look at it or inquire any further about it. It's in Sleepy Lagoon, I think.
Although they didn't really care if they had a used boat or a new boat, and a new boat would be lovely. But every time you shorten those boats, like we looked at a 20-foot at Anchorage, it only takes 8 passengers out. So when you take a staff and 2 or 3 volunteers, and then you have people waiting at the dock to go out on Sunday, the reason was having a full boat before she left. Now you saw 4 or 5 people, they get on the boat and go out on Sunday. So we'd rather, if we possibly can, we'd rather hit a 24-foot mark, because that'll give us the 12 people on the boat, 10 to 12 people on the boat. 20-foot just doesn't make.
So I hate to bring this question up or bring this up. Let's see. Let me think what this is. This is a capital asset, isn't it? And guess what's left in our capital asset fund? 0. Again, because we took that money, this is a true capital asset, life expectancy over so many years and valued it over, whatever, $3,000. Unforeseen capital asset that now we have to figure out a way to pay for. But again, that's why I was questioning during the budget process, taking that money and dispersing it into the departments for computers valued at less than $3,000. And here we are now with no money left in the capital asset fund to pay for, in fact, the capital asset.
And this should have been a capital improvement plan.
Yeah.
Well, but that being said, how do you intend to pay for it?
What did you say about the Samson Islands fund?
Samson They did have specifications for how they wanted to use that. I'm sure that they could pare down that a little bit so that they would be able to utilize some of their $5,000 towards the purchase of some things so they can get back out to the island. That island is built with volunteers.
So
And
we need
if we
that.
can't get some folks and volunteers back out there, we're going to have a lot of backtracking to do when we come and get up and running. We have been going out, Dory's been going out on Mondays on the police boat with one of our other staff. So we're kind of managing our own. We do have a small work day, Saturday, going out on a private boat. But just taking a small group of people, and usually our work day we go anywhere between 20 and 30 people.
How long has the pontoon boat been out of service? Our existing pontoon boat?
At the end of August, I want to say, in August.
So are you going to come back at the next meeting with a,
I would
something?
like to. I've not gotten solid proposals from people. I need to find out what the rigging is on any engine, what the cost of that is. The gentleman in Anchorage, Ed, he's an awesome gentleman, has always worked well with the city. We went down and chatted with him for a little bit. He says, we need to get you back out there. So he'd be willing to help us out any way possible. And
Okay, so we'll just table this until the 7th.
yes, there's no action that I
Okay, can you quickly do Sampson Island update for us, and then we can,
Sure,
because
I'd be
I
glad
think
to.
Mr. Baker would want to speak on that, or Sadie. Go ahead.
A group of us went over a couple of weekends ago, and right after Mr. Baker gave his pictures, and it did have a lot of growth going on, and particularly what's called the Whispering Pines area. When we did the invasive plant eradication in March of 2011, the Whispering Pines, because of the pine needles coming down, that made that area toxic, so nothing grows up under there. Well, as soon as those are gone, up pops just about everything imaginable, and that area is a mess. But to be quite honest with you, the whole island was a mess 20 years ago. And in 10 and 12 years from now, that area will be beautiful again. But right now, because of the limited ability to get out there, limited work on the island, we've just not been able to keep that area up. The other areas, we feel pretty confident that we're going to be able to get Bert back out from Public Works, get those trails all trimmed up nice, campsites ready to go for the fall season.
So all of that growth happened between when we lost the boat and the end of August and now?
No, it's been, we went out with a group from FIT that went out and did community service with us out there. It's a group from a fraternity, I believe. We had that area cleared, when was that, Dory? April, I think.
I know, but what I'm saying is we haven't had the boat since August. So what has caused it to get where it is how long's it been since we've had maintenance crews out there to clean it up?
Volunteers out there?
Mm-hmm. Or our own maintenance people?
Well, Public Works hasn't been out as much as they would like to because they're down people, and Bert, who's our main person out on Sampson's Island from Public Works, has been on the Cassia project.
Okay.
So they've struggled going out. We haven't had our full staff. It's just a big area, and that area is just, I know you get out there. So the Whispering Pines area, it will be fine, and in 10 years it'll look gorgeous. I do have a thought that I was going to propose. I talked to Sandy Carnival, the chairman of the Sampson's Island Committee. One of the thoughts I had for that particular area, it's a little over an acre, I believe. Rather than trying to manage all of the goodness and beauty of that whole acre with a few volunteers and, an occasional Bert, let's just find an area, a specific quarter of that we can make real nice, put a picnic table there, all of the amenities, the fire grill, everything, and let's maintain that, make that look area while the rest is still in growth. And then while the rest is growing and doing what it's supposed to do, because it's just renativing itself, we can at least have a nice area for people to go down there and look at the owls and get to the kayak landing and such. So that's something the committee will be looking at in November. Okay. And no, I don't know that we would have ever had enough volunteers to keep that area in check.
Well, and that's what I was getting at. I mean, I think the council took some unsubstantiated hits in the last meeting because we were Some gentleman stood up and said it was our fault that Sampson's Island was getting that way because we haven't bought them a boat. But that's not it. It's just an issue of having the manpower and the time.
Yes, it is that, and then coming up into fall, as normally we would have 30 people on the island this coming Saturday, we'd get all that taken care of. We're not going to be able to do that. So as the problem progressed kind of through the summer, then we hit the no boat. Now we hit the no work day. It's going to it's going to remain a problem until we get a boat and get moving.
Is there a safety issue with using the boat that the police use? You guys have a boat that I see Citizens Patrol going up and down the canals on Sunday afternoon. Is there some reason why you couldn't use the police boat to cart people back and forth from the fire station? Until we get a pontoon boat? Oh, you are?
They're doing that on Monday mornings. Dory and another staff.
Okay. Well, what about on weekends?
That was not something that...
We just negotiated with, she needed to get some people out there with some regularity to find out, to get there. So we communicated back and forth, when can you do it?
What I'm saying is if we do have volunteers at the ready who would like to go out there and start work on Sampson's Island, why don't we use the police boat while we're waiting to fix the problem with the pontoon boat? Could we do that?
Actually, I think too, there's an issue because if the police boat is smaller, the amount of refuge
They
that comes
may
off
take
all
more
that's not
trips
easy.
to get
A
things
lot
out
more
there,
trips.
but I think they can probably do it. It's like using your station wagon instead of a pickup truck. You know, I mean, that's just my thought.
We'll check into that. They did indicate when we were working on the negotiating with using the police boat that they needed 2 of their own Marine Patrol staff on there, and we could take 2 others on top of that. We don't typically like to take people out to the island and drop them off and start ferrying back and forth because you don't have any way off. We are doing that with Mike and Dory because they're familiar with the park. But it'd be a lot of trips back and forth taking 12 people off of the dock, 2 at a time.
Kerry, thank you for the update. Let me open and see if there's any public comment. Any public comment on just that we're update? It's just a Sampson Island update and what's going on out there.
Kathleen Arcarilla, Satellite Beach resident. We've canoed there several times. I know, but it's for Carrie. Carrie, this is for you, but I have to look at Mayor Joe. We've been out there several times with our canoe and kayaks and all that, and I really like it, but as soon as we hit the shoal, we're like consumed with mosquitoes. So I'd like to know where the best part is, because we don't usually pull up to the dock because you can't get out of a canoe very easily there. So we usually come in from the south, and I don't know which canal name thing that is, but we haven't been there much because there was just so many mosquitoes we couldn't even, we just couldn't even manage. Is there some secret to where you should enter or exit that place where you're not, when you want to actually go on and walk around?
It's not the enter-exit, it's the season. Just don't go in the summer.
No.
November through about April is very nice with limited
Well,
mosquitoes.
thank you, Kerry, for that. And John, did you want to say anything? All right, let's press the skate park.
Alrighty.
Skate park and dog park update, county-city agreement, no grant-related restrictions, address liability issues. This is agenda item number 11. Ann?
Yes, and Carrie's going to talk about this, and I think it's really important too because we did add that, and we need to define this, but there is a skate facility liability coverage endorsement, and one of the conditions is on-site supervision is required during facility operating hours, and we need a little, update on that and how that can be fulfilled.
When Satellite Beach chose to build a skate park and dog park, we were the first municipal entity and quite a distance around to do that. And there was a lot of skepticism as to whether these were going to be safe, whether they were going to work. Are you going to have crazy things happen at the skate park, horrible things happen at the dog park? So the city council at the time said, well, we'd be glad to do that, but we're going to have it staffed because we want to make sure that if there are issues there, that we have addressed them and that people outside of our community can come back and say, wow, if they can do a skate park and it works, we can do one too. So we were the first skate park in this area, and since then, of course, there's one in Palm Bay, a private one in Melbourne. Cocoa Beach has a municipal one that's run by a private contractor. There's a couple in the county. When the county built Their dog parks, for example, they did them just like us. Their rules were our rules. Their staffing was our staffing. Their staffing guidelines were our staffing guidelines. They just chose, after their budget crunches, not to staff the dog park. We continued because the concerns of our customers' use of both those facilities still revolved around, if there are incidences, if there are problems, do we want our customers and our citizens out there without any staffing? Not having been ever given any direction that we did not care about the customer's safety, we budgeted every year for that. We've tweaked the hours so that we've, rather than having sunrise to sunset in the dog park, for example, we've asked everybody who's the morning people, you come in and you're out by 11. We've asked the afternoon people, don't come until 4. So we've eliminated a lot of open opportunities for both at the dog park and then also at the skate park to just kind of keep adjusting the staffing costs. But we've had, just the last 2 weekends, we had a dog bite incident 2 weekends ago and an injury this past week, and a lady broke her pelvic bone in the dog park. She was hit by 2 dogs. She was down, and our staff was there, was able to call rescue. Rescue came, and now she's going to be better. Now, what if she had not had a staff there? I mean, just wait until somebody walks by the walking trail?
How does the county get around the liability issue?
That I don't know.
I mean, obviously, they staffed it originally because of the liability issue, and then when they ran out of money, they decided they don't need to worry about the liability issue anymore?
I think the county's self-insured. In other words, the way that the law works as far as that issue is concerned is that, and I may be wrong on this, but at some point in time I remember talking to one of the assistant county attorneys that said that they don't have insurance. They're part of a self-insurance fund kind of a thing. And by state law, somebody sues somebody that doesn't, well, the waiver of sovereign immunity places, and they amended it, I don't remember what the number is, but for a long time it was $200,000 per person per incident.
Maximum?
Yes, and, that's where it was. And if you have insurance, there's cases that say that you waive sovereign immunity up to the maximum amount of your insurance coverage. My understanding is the county doesn't have any insurance, so they're just dealing with the waiver of sovereign immunity issue. So if somebody gets hurt, they're looking at whatever the maximum is going to be is $200,000 or whatever that number is now. I think it's $250 now, actually.
And so
but I'm guessing that's part of the reason why they did it.
And so if we have this park supervised and somebody gets injured there, we don't have to worry about being sued?
Didn't say that. But the issue is that if the issue is that if the city has, which is what Kerry alluded to, if we have certain regulations about how people are to conduct themselves out there and we have it staffed, then, and things are done according to Hoyle, then the odds of us being found liable, the city being found liable are going to be much lower. Because what the courts look at is, and I don't know what issues there are per se with the operation of the parks and or the county parks, but if you open up an area, in this case for recreation uses, and you know that there's an inherent hazard to that, and you don't really do anything to address it, and people do get hurt, then there are legal issues involved that in essence constitute waivers of sovereign immunity for those kinds of actions or lack of actions when you know that there's an inherent danger. So, those are all going to be issues you're going to look at. And then the other issue is, legally there's not an issue per se other than, I think Ann put that in the memo, is that there's nothing in the agreements other than council needs to determine what the reasonable supervisory, activities are going to be for the parks. But the insurance company, if the insurance company is going to tell us that they're not going to cover anything unless we do X, Y, and Z, then, the council needs to take that into account in determining whichever route it wants to go on as far as what kind of supervision they want to provide for the park.
So I know I have the skate park flyer in front of me. It's $180 a year for an individual and $300 for a family. I've misplaced the dog park one. What are the fees for a dog, someone who wants to be a member of the dog park?
The dog park fees, most of the dogs that, people that get memberships, dogs can't get memberships, they buy a $120 annual membership, $120 annual membership, or they'll buy a 12 pass for $24, or they pay a daily fee of $250 entry.
So I thought, because again, I don't have it, but it was $120 a year for one dog and one family member, and doesn't it go up?
No, we struggle with that. It's
maybe I picked up an old one then.
$125 for the person and up to 3 dogs. Most people will have a person who brings in 1 or 2 of their dogs. There's a couple that have 3 dogs, but that's not the majority.
And then this wasn't included in the package. So based on the fees that come in for membership, how much is it costing each year to run each of those facilities?
I did bring that because I knew that would be a good question to have an answer to. This is just staffing versus income. At the dog park, we'll spend about $19,000 in salaries, covering the 7 days that we're open, various hours of the days, and we bring in about $11,000 in income. So the delta is right around $8,000. And the dog park's kind of leveled out. We're always trying to get new customers there and new doggies in. The skate park's where we're struggling right now, trying to get some kids back over to the skate park. So the skate park staffing is about $15,000, and we'll bring in only about 5 this year is what I'm thinking, unless I can get with some additional programs down there. So the delta there is a little bit more, it's 10.
Okay.
But I would be very fearful to have a skate park without an attendant.
Yeah, if we got sued for $250,000 and we only saved 8, I just did the math, that's 31 years. I mean, so we're sacrificing 31 years for one incident, which is kind of tough.
Actually, and if you look in the skate facility liability coverage endorsement, it's actually $1 million per occurrence.
Is that the city wrote that one, or did the county do that? That page there, skate facility liability coverage endorsement? Is that the cities, or is that the?
It's the cities.
The cities that we have.
And then another, and I don't know if you can answer this question, some of the parks that are free, the dog parks and the skate parks, I mean, obviously there's no attendant there, are they free? So in this case, we're bringing in, generating revenue to subsidize the cost, even though it's costing us, but the others are free, so they still have to maintain it. You know, there's maintenance that goes along with all these facilities, yeah.
Thank you. So I guess what you're looking at for us, and the reason this came up is because a citizen brought it up to stop, or to try and go with, like the county, uncontrolled. Unattended. Sorry, I'm thinking of airports, uncontrolled airports. Yeah, okay. All right. And so I think that the council has discussed, so we'll get some public comment on what you think. And whoever would like to go first, please state your, Kathleen, do you want to go first? Okay. And then for you have 2 minutes. State your name. When you come up, state your name, and if you're a resident of Satellite Beach, then you have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Oh, well, I don't know if I can do this on 3. Kathleen Arcarola, Satellite Beach resident. First of all, I'm a dog lover, and I've used the parks and everything. I used the park the first year, and unfortunately my yellow lab got bit outside in the perimeter, which Carrie knows of that, and the dog's owner was actually Lorraine got. And anyhow, so we didn't use it that much. It was staff. My dog was always being chased and humped and bothered, and I'd be like, hey, whose dog? Get over here and get this thing off my dog. They sat there and chatted and smoked their cigarettes, and really I didn't really think it was helpful. I did a lot of research over the last 6 months, especially over the last 2 months, gave that information all to the city manager and the recreation manager off to the side here. It is very expensive for us to run both these parks. As you can see, we're minus $18,000 in the hole. I'm going to try to keep this brief for everybody behind me. We have 6 dog parks and 4 skate parks in the county. And I gave you guys this list last time for Titusville, Cocoa, Port St. John, Palm Bay. I did all the research, gave it all to the county. We are the oldest park for skate and dog park, and we're the only ones that still staff it. I swear to God, we're paranoid. We don't have lifeguards at the beach. We don't have this, that. If you have a child that wants to go skate, it doesn't open till Sunday at 4 o'clock. They got nothing else, no place to go, even when the weather's cool. I talked to a couple kids there. They're very frustrated. They can't go that often. It's $3.50. It's expensive. Their parents won't pay it. I say, have your child go. Bring a sibling. Bring a friend. Bring your parent. Bring a neighbor. We can't babysit everything. But, as Lloyd did in the meeting last night, we got nothing here. We got nothing. These are our doggy bags, in case anybody hasn't seen. The ones we spend $4,000 a year on. These are the ones that Indian Harbor Beach uses. I did all the pricing and everything else, gave it to Miss Carey. She said she'd get back to me, but I didn't hear anything. For $1,000 of these bags, we can buy almost 30,000 of a year. How many dog bags do we go through a year? I have no idea, but 30,000 bags. We have 14 dispensers. There's a lot more to look into this situation than what if my kid falls and hurts his head? They're supposed to wear a helmet. Or what if somebody bites my dog? The dogs get bitten all the time in the neighborhood, in the street, when you walk in 7-Eleven. We can't just sit back. I mean, if we could afford it, it would be great, but we're losing our tails on this. Like I said, I'm for the skate park, I'm for the dog park, but I don't think at this point that we should be enabling parents to the point where it's become a babysitting thing. And the kids are very disheartened. They're like, the recreation park doesn't do any events, we don't have anything going on, we can't take lessons. The only thing we do is 2 times a year when Walker Skate or Graffiti Park comes out, they sponsor stuff, and then the city brings pizza and soda. You guys should do a survey. And the kids are really disheartened, and they need to be open more often. You should be able to take your dog any time of the day, especially when it's cooler out. It's really nice, and I really just wish you guys would look at the rest of the county. We're the only ones staffing, but we don't own the property. The county owns the property, and I think we should dig deeper into the liability to find out what it is. But I just want one more other thing to say. In the amendment for the county, it says that the city will provide and administer adequate personnel to supervise all activities sponsored and sanctioned. If we do have to staff it, well, then you better get some activities that are sponsored and sanctioned, and not just pay people to sit there and watch dogs hump or kids skate. You better get some stuff going on if you're gonna go by the liability and do this.
Thank you.
You need to get involved.
Thank you, Kathy. Don't we have the Halloween dog show anymore?
Yes, so we had a skate camp Friday, October 12th, and did our skate contest this past Sunday.
Yeah. Okay. Sir, good evening. If you could state your name and if you are a resident of Satellite Beach or not.
Yes, can you hear me? Yes, my name is Oscar Brooks. I'm a resident of Satellite Beach. I've been a resident for 23 years. And before I talk about the dog park, I'd like to say that I understand and respect your policies of maintaining services and looking at fiscal responsibility. These are tough times, and I understand that. And you all have tough decisions. But with some decisions, when it comes to providing services and being fiscally responsible, there's a very difficult line. And in this particular situation, you also have a liability. The dog park is really a vital part of our community. It just sounds like dogs, crazy dogs just going out there and carrying on. But if you ever go out there, you'll see the dogs have a good time, obviously, but the community, the people that go out there forge tremendous friendships and a part of our community. The original development of that park was done by a lot of volunteers, and they put a lot of blood, sweat into it. But once again, I know there are fiscal problems, there are fiscal concerns. But you deal with that in all aspects of city government. The dog park is to maintain the quality of service of the dog park. And I've been, as this lady has said, I've been to other dog parks and done some other research. If you go just to the county dog parks, the ones that are unattended, I had the data sheet, and I apologize, I could try to get that back to you. The number of incidents they've had of dogs attacking other dogs, dogs attacking people, are quite extraordinary. And the number of people that have attended their parks have decreased. They put like these little tickers on there so they can determine how many have gone there, because they've had situations where people that aren't quite responsible with their animals and have aggressive animals are going in there and trying to take over those parks. That's not part of our community. That's not what we are made of. That's not why we are here. An attendant at that park, what an attendant does at that park is assures the dogs have the proper shots before they walk in the door. Okay? Assures that things are not destroyed. There was one occurrence. I was walking around the dog park, and I've heard this from other dog parks. If you go to other dog parks, they're basically a fence and a bunch of grass. There's no chairs, there's no seats, there's no nothing, because they've been destroyed. They've been beaten up. The people that go to our dog park are very responsible, because they have to be. They see an attendant. Attendant doesn't have to do anything, but it's like a police officer walking a beat. They see this person there, and they act and they behave in a different manner. As has been pointed out, the attendants provide guidance in the case of an accident, and they make sure that the correct people have access to the park. There was one occurrence I noticed in my own that they... Okay. I would say, please listen to what the rec department proposing, because I really feel it's done the best it can fiscally. It'll handle the liability, and it will maintain the services that have been provided in the community. Thank you.
Mr. Jagutis? Ron? Good evening, Ron.
Good evening, everyone. Ron Jagutis, Satellite Beach resident. We talk about the dog park and the skate park, but I see it in a corner of the community. It's obviously by the library in a far, far corner of the city. And if anybody has gone there, there's growth out there, there's woods. I do believe we need an attendant out there. It's not only for the dog biting, the kids having accidents. There's more to it that I don't even want to go at this point, God forbid. It's in the far corner of the community, and it needs attendance over there. Perhaps the fee structure needs to be changed at the skate park, or we need capital improvements out there in the capital improvement plan to bring it forward so that kids can afford it. And the dog park is the dog park. It is what it is. But I strongly feel that it needs attendance, and take that issue at hand. And thank you, Kathleen, for all the work that you've done on that project.
Thank you. Steve?
A couple months ago, I had the pleasure of going up to National Kidney Foundation, the first part of the surf and turf event. That was the skate park event that preceded the surf event on Labor Day. I spoke with the guys that ran their skate park. They do that on just merchandise. That's what their contract is. What they sell and how they repair is how they are paid. There's no cost to the city at all. He was willing to come and make a presentation to the city about that. And I think that what we're looking at is an attendant or no attendant, but I think this might be a middle solution that could be examined. of somebody coming in, being able to set up some merchandise, sell some boards, sell some wheels, repair some stuff on site, and that's how they make their money. And at the same time, they monitor the skate park, and they do a really good job up there. The kids we watched were just incredible, the interaction, and it's just, I mean, because they're all young guys, you know, and young girls, and, you know, they just have a rapport that I could never have anymore with kids. I'm just saying it's something to look at, and I think that that might be able to handle, if we don't examine it, we're missing an opportunity. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. And thank you. And you can just pass this person's name along to Terry maybe
That's
tomorrow or
what
the
we
next
see about
day.
it.
Any other comment? I see you, Michelle. Michelle? And then Trevor?
Michelle French, resident. A couple of issues. I think the skate park and the dog park are really completely different in liabilities. As far as the dog park goes, and I heard Carrie's comment about a person being knocked down by the dogs, I'm not sure if, I see where an attendant would be there to help, but if that person was somewhere else, let's say walking, and I'm just going to pick a place that's remote, which is down in Indian Harbor, in Gleason Park, where you can get into a remote area. If someone got hurt there, how would that be different than, you know, falling down here, okay, in that respect, and that there is no one monitoring that place, Gleason Park, to be sure that there's no injuries. By the same token, I'm not sure what an attendant would do if there was a fight with dogs, if the attendant did not have a gun or, you know, a tranquilizing gun or something to interfere. They're not going to jump in between two dogs any more than a person that owns the dogs would be jumping in. You know, I'm not seeing how that would help. As far as the liabilities, I know I have been to a dog park in Orlando that was so big and had water, had picnic tables, had pavilions. There is no way anybody would be monitoring that, and there was no monitor. It was free. Anybody could go. It was open to the public, and it wasn't monitored. How do they do it? How do they do it without the liability issue? If in fact county owns this property, I think it would behoove us to dig in a little deeper as to how county regulates and what our options are. I know for a fact in D.C., I was just walking around D.C., they have many dog parks, not a single attendant in sight. No sign-in, no anything, everybody just comes, and they are responsible, because I think people that have pets tend to be responsible if they are taking them to a dog park. That's just my observation. As far as the skate park, I agree. Kids not being able to use a skate park only for a limited time is difficult. It's detrimental to what we wanted for a skate park in the first place, I think, for the city. So I think Steve's idea, that sounds like it is certainly worth investigating, because it is a different way to maybe achieve the same goal, and I think in these times, we need to be looking at all of our options, not just what we've done in the past.
Thank you. Trevor?
Trevor Loing, resident. Just to reiterate a lot of what they said, but we also are aware from the news that, you know, childhood obesity is a growing epidemic in this country, and there are very few activities in the city that kids can do that allow them to get that kind of aerobic activity, you know, in a private without being part of a group sport. And for the minimal cost it costs us, we get a huge benefit out. I used to take my kids there all the time. And Carrie knows I used to have an annual pass there, but to a certain point it just became cost prohibitive. But it's a great activity for kids. I think another one that I've heard people want to consider is have one person to monitor both parks. I know one's higher, one's lower, but it's possibly worth looking at. And not that we can use the football field to its full extent yet, but if we ever get to that point, combine what Steve said along with selling, soda or whatever, for the activities down at the football field. So.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Steve Madison, Indian Harbor Beach resident.
To the point of people saying that people will behave properly without attendance, I have to strongly disagree with that. And the reference I'm going to make is, if you talk to anybody that goes to the Wickham dog park that is unattended, it is bare ground with no grass, no chairs or anything, you will hear horror stories of a dog got pinned down, got humped, got blah, 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 blah. The owner was on their cell phone, they wouldn't respond. A lot of dogs are bred aggressively. Those dogs aren't allowed into Satellite Beach Dog Park. I mean, they're allowed in regard to, they don't just say you can't come in because you're X breed or whatever, but when they come in and they misbehave, they're rejected and they're not allowed back. People come to this park from miles away, from driving past the Wickham Park, because of the difference between Satellite Beach and Wickham and Lori Wilson, et cetera, et cetera. So that's just the one thing I'm going to say is, there's a reason why people come to Satellite Beach Dog Park and why they go past those other parks to come to us. And there is if you want to see a difference, go to both parks. You'll see it. It'll be obvious to you.
Thank you. Hi.
My name is Peggy Guggenmelli, and I'm new to Satellite, but I've been in Indy Atlantic for 4 years. I have been coming to the dog park since the first week that I moved down here. I feel very secure having an attendant. Coming from New York, I've seen the dog parks. There are no attendants. The people are as bad as the dogs. Or I should say the dogs get as bad as the people. Down here, there's somebody
You
there.
can't trust those New Yorkers.
I know, that's why I came down here. But I'll be honest with you, my dog got involved in an incident about a month ago. He knows he walked into the park, another dog attacked him. They did get into a fight, and yes, the young lady leaned in and put her arms around her dog's neck, and there's two big dogs fighting. If you had left them alone, they would have stopped. She did get bitten by it. I, being the adult, she was the kid, I said, take him to the doctor, I will pay for it, which I did. People that go to this park do that. They step up to the plate. A friend of ours who comes from Cocoa Beach every day, got hurt about 4 years ago. She got knocked over by the dogs. They called an ambulance. She's not holding the dog park responsible. This girl's not holding that. She got bit. She realized she put her hand in the middle of a fight. But having somebody there when there's a problem. We had an attendant there. There was a fire a little further. She went to investigate. We need somebody there. And that's the reason people come down there, because if you take away the attendant, you're going to lose the money because nobody's going to come.
Thank you. Sorry.
Honest, that's what I think.
Thank you. All right, let me bring it back to the council. All right.
One of the things I'd like to point out is that the KPEG report pointed to these parks, these various parks, as an area for additional study. And I would like to at least have the council consider forming a KPEG to look at the various parks, bring some people in that have already invested a lot of time and effort into gathering data on these issues, and see if we can find a solution. We've got very talented people in Satellite Beach, people with great ideas that we can't all come up with, all right, but they might be able to come up with the perfect blend of things to do, much like what Steve brought up about the skate park. As a matter of fact, I had heard that the Kiwi Tennis Club had come to Satellite Beach and offered to manage our tennis courts for us at no charge. I don't know what's going on with that, but were you approached by Kiwi about our tennis courts?
Yes, sir. We have the Recreation Board at their next meeting. They missed this last one for lack of quorum. It's on their agenda to discuss.
Okay. But again, these are things that local businesses coming in to not take control of, but to assist with, managing these facilities in an innovative way.
Maybe I'm hearing, I don't have a problem doing a further study, but you're kind of, again, putting $18,000 out of the budget that we have is really not a huge expense. We just went through the budget process, yet nobody brought up any of these.
And we get 11K in.
Yeah, innovative way of, we did change the doggy bag issue, reducing the cost there, but what I'm hearing,
It's three pontoon boats.
I'm talking about quality the quality that the community wants. I'm hearing potential vandalism with unmanning. I've heard things like they're just watching kids skate. Well, guess what? Leaves blow onto the skate park. They go out with a leaf blower and they make sure that it's safe before the kids go out there and skate so that they don't have an accident because of our negligence. I know we have the liability issue there. I don't own a dog. I don't have a dog, but I know that I'm very close to my other pets that I do have. And people are looking for certain standards when they go there. And that's really the issue. It doesn't really come down to dollars and cents. It really comes down to the quality of the amenity that our community desires. And I assume if I had a dog, it would be a lovely place to go. It sounds like I'm going to visit. I know my son used to pick up balls there, tennis balls there. But do you want the dogs that are bred to be the fighting dogs in that park, or do you want that monitored? And what I'm hearing is that the parks that are free, they're not monitored. We charge a very nice price to be to go to these facilities. So you're also going to be giving that up if you do decrease the service that we are providing. And I want everybody to be aware of that. If you're going to decrease the service and not provide monitors, you certainly can't expect somebody to pay $1.30 a year to go there, or $300 for a family to skate at that park. You're going to have to decrease the amount of revenue that you're bringing in as well.
Well, of course, the other issue too is if it's not monitored and the parks deteriorate, like everybody says that they do, that's an extra cost.
That's maintenance as well. So.
Okay, so can we have a motion?
Well, but I would like to, I mean, I agree. I think we should maintain what we've got. But I think what we should do is we should take up Mr. French or Councilman French's idea. We've already been talking about having the KPEG being a on-running thing to take efficiency looks at certain parts of our city operations. Why don't we ask Mr. Groom, who has volunteered to run an ongoing KPEG, if he would take this on as a
well, if we're going to have a KPEG committee, then I would like to set up a committee, and I would like to put some people on that committee as well.
That's fine. Yeah. So he just has volunteered to run it, you know, if we wanted a honcho. But so I think it should probably be a twofer.
Go ahead. Yeah. All right, so let's twofer it.
But I mean, maybe that needs to be a separate issue where we also had on the agenda, which is getting off the dog and skate park issue, workshops to go over every section of that KPEG report. And I feel really bad those folks worked really hard on that KPEG report, and we kind of shelved it. It was kind of dropped on us, and we read it,
sure,
but we didn't go further.
We used it to the point that we could save. Yeah, we used it to the point that we could cut 7% from the budget.
Right.
But after that, there's a lot more stuff in there. You're right.
Right. There was at least probably a dozen different areas in that report that required additional study.
What I'd like to do on agenda item number 11, let's just discuss what we want to do on keeping or not keeping the rec staff at the skate park. So can we just have a
I think at this point we have no choice due to the liability issue, aside from all the other issues, the vandalism.
Okay, can you just,
I'll make a motion that we keep the staffing at the skate park as is.
And the dog park?
I don't know if you want to do them separate. I said that, and the dog park.
Okay.
I would like to put some sort of end date or reconsideration date on this where, in other words, if we're going to study it, let's have a certain amount of time where we're going to study it. We'll keep the staffing the same for that period of time, all right, and then readdress it at once the report's
By the time you can do
presented.
6 months, like a twofer. Yeah.
And part of the recommendation was working with a new volunteer coordinator to access possible volunteer opportunities. Kids are always looking for
Right. In other words,
community hours,
all
for college
those-
things.
But all that goes into this KPEG effort.
Right.
So thank you, Cheryl, for making a recommendation. Can you, would you amend that to 6, do you want
To include the KPEG effort in a 6-month relook based upon the effort.
I don't mind doing that, but we don't have a KPEG yet. I mean,
Well, a looks,
How about a leap of faith?
I think we do have a KPEG, actually.
Yeah, we're still together.
I don't think we disbanded them.
No, we didn't.
I mean,
That's
they're
true.
They're still a
we have
body.
to add people to them, but they're still a viable board.
We have not stood that board down.
okay, well, I'd make a motion, we keep the manning at the skate park and dog park as is, with KPEG revisiting potential options within the next 6 months.
I'll second that.
That was excellent. Thank you. I have a motion by Councilwoman Medina, second by Councilman Billman. Lenore?
Councilman French.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Owens.
Yes.
Councilman Billman.
Yes.
Councilwoman Dean.
Yes.
Mayor Conley.
Yes, and the motion passes. I thank everyone for their efforts and their input tonight. Thank you. And we will address it again in 6 months.
Mayor, is there any direction for the city manager to, I've got the KPEG roster, I don't know if you want to add some other members or what, to get that moving, if that's what we're going to do.
I think we can, I got some things for the next meeting, in November 7th meeting.
All right.
We might want to do that if we want to get them rolling on that. Yes.
What do we have in there, 5 now? Or KPEG?
I'm sorry?
How many members are on KPEG? Do you know off the top of your head?
I don't-
5, 6?
And there might even be, are there 7?
Well, boys.
Might be 7. I'd have to check the roster. I have it in my drawer, but not in front of me.
But Lloyd couldn't be on it anymore if he was happened to be sitting on council after the election here. So. If you don't win the election, you can go back on.
Oh, that was good. All right, let's,
And I would do that, too.
okay, and agenda item number 12, something that the council, and I think that you presented something, Terry, but this is even better and more detailed. And Alan, you were involved in this, the community center facility use report.
Yeah, I was just involved just in the thing of the numbers.
Okay, Carrie, well, there's a lot of numbers here. So Carrie, what are we doing on this? Is this just information?
It's just information. I took Alan's recommendation that he calculated out at $2.61 for utilization of the Schechter Center per square foot. And then I just ran some numbers starting at kind of a general overview and then broke it all the way down to the cost of running one of our classes for 1 hour for
Anything
a certain
striking
length
to
of time.
you that you didn't realize that we should be aware of?
Well, no, it was something for striking to me. You probably would go, I don't care. Some of our classes are more than covering the cost of the 1 hour that they're in a facility. Zumba, for example, she'll have 40, 50 people in her class, so she's bringing in much more than $1, or much more than just to cover the 1 hour cost of her class. The real unusual classes like sign language, I mean, so few people would ever have something like sign language, and you're not going to get that opportunity for a family or for a child or an adult to take a sign language class. So you're going to get 4 or 5 people in that class. Well, that type of class is not going to cover the cost of the 1 hour that she's in there. But that it has taught me, it has shown me that where we are putting her is in the game room, and this is way too detailed for this time of night, but thank you. But the game room is, in the Schechter Center, is set in an air conditioner unit. It's for the general lobby area of the Schechter Center, so as long as there's people in the building, that unit runs. So she's not taking any additional electric except for lights for the 1 hour she's in there. So although it looks like she might not be making enough to cover her hour.
Okay, let me see if the council has comments. Lloyd?
Yes. Alan, can you tell me that $2.61 per square foot, is that per square foot per hour, per day, per week, per month?
I mean, this is how I did it. I took the yearly costs for electric, for water, for everything that goes on in your cleaning product, and divided it by the square footage of the building. So to me, that's the annual square foot cost. Now,
So it's $2.61 per square foot per year.
that's it. That's how I calculated it. If there's another way to do that, I don't,
That wasn't clear in the numbers that was
well.
Yeah.
But that's a good number to have,
Yes.
because we've never been able to size, what the operating cost is for the community center.
Right.
And I think now that we have this, we can take a closer look at what we're spending.
One of the comparisons I also did was to take the operating cost per hour for each of the rooms and compare it to the rental cost of those rooms. and where most of the operating cost per hour, we're right around maybe $3, a little high, a little low. The Recreation Board and City Council's resolution has us charging $10 to $14 for those hours. That costs us about $3 high or low to run. The gymnasium costs us about $6 an hour to run, and we'll rent that out to private rentals for $35 an hour.
Mm-hmm. That's a good deal. $35 an hour? Pretty good.
Well, we have open basketball. I don't know if we get 35. Do we get 35 people? Sometimes it costs us. That's not everything.
Now, that's operating costs. That doesn't include salaries. That doesn't include your
No,
labor.
it does not include salaries. Well, it does include, it does include all, let me tell you what Allen's 261 came from. Came from the cost in 2011, the full annual cost in 2011 for electric, water, maintenance, custodial services, waste management, and cleaning supplies.
Yeah, the maintenance. I took the
Not
amount of
recreational
hours
salaries.
divided by the same square footage.
But are the rec center personnel there whenever the DRS is occupied?
No, sir. The Schechter Center is occupied weekdays till about 9 o'clock at night. Staff leaves between 5:30 and 6:30. On the weekends, it's not staffed, but we do have folks using the building all weekend, or throughout the weekend, I should say. And recall, too, the staffing of the recreation department, the recreation staff, they don't just run the Schechter Center. They run all the recreation facilities out of that office area, tennis, racquetball, staffing for those, part-time staffing for those, make all the reservations for Pelican, check on Hightower items, Sampson's Island. So the 3 full-time and permanent part-time staff at recreation probably don't spend, I wouldn't even want to put a percentage on it, but they spend a lot more time doing other things other than just what's happening in the DRS.
So let's just take, as an example, Taekwondo. The program is charging, I take it, $21.30 an hour. That's what we're charging the Taekwondo program for the use of that, whatever the room is that they use, right?
Taekwondo is paid a percentage, 25%. He gets 75, we get 25.
Okay, but here it says, I think this says we're charging $21.30 an hour? Is that what that
No,
means?
that's how much we have left after his programs
Okay, so that's how much we're making off that.
each hour.
Okay.
Mhm.
And this $2.83 or $2.835 per hour,
Is what it cost us to run that room for an
but
hour.
that's a 24-hour requirement, right? So in other words, in a day, it's going to cost us 2.8 times 24, or that's, I mean, you can't just say it's going to be $2.83 just for that hour that they're in there, or is that what you mean?
That's what I mean.
Okay,
It's
so in other
costing-
words, we're making quite a profit margin on that.
Yes,
just
that's
an
what I
example.
said.
So if that's the case, how are we losing $475,000 a year? Because on almost all of these, we have quite a profit margin going.
Because we're only using it 1,500, well, let's take the meeting room, that's the one I just calculated, because we're only using the meeting room 1,506 hours out of 8,760 total hours, all right, in a year. So basically what you're looking at is a cost of about, basically the meeting room for any given day costs us $5.35 an hour based on what Alan gave us.
24 hours.
Times 24,
That's what I just
which
said.
is $128.50 a day. So if we're only using the meeting room a quarter of the total hours, a third of the total hours in a day, then perhaps we're not charging enough for that meeting room, all right, to cover the total cost in a day for having that room available.
You're calculating that at 24 hours?
Yes. We have to keep the heat and air conditioning on and
Oh, no,
everything.
no.
Or you shut it down at the end of the day?
Oh, my God.
Okay, well then, see, and then this was all part of what I tried to explain on KPEG, all right? That yes, there are different times of the day, different times of the year, different seasons where we experience different costs, all right? If we don't understand what all those costs are, all the components of those costs for the different times of the day, in other words, peak use is what, 9 to 5, we'll say, all right, or whatever. All right, but then there's the cost of the time where it's not being used.
So I guess we need an average.
So basically, this was an area, a deep dive area. An average would make it easy, but the KPEG recommended a deeper dive so that we understand the 24-hour cost burden of each of these rooms, so that we know for a fact that charging $14.50 an hour based on average usage of the facility per year will pay us for what it truly costs us to have that facility available, throughout the year.
Right. Well, but my numbers were calculated on the annual average, as you say. Her number was based on the amount of usage in those rooms based on a number of days, like there's, how many days did you calculate that one of those rooms would use, 120 days out of
I actually did it by...
She did it by hours.
By hours.
By hours, so...
Which is actually helpful.
Yeah, because if the meeting room has its own air conditioner, air handler. It's all done by computer. I operate it. So the meeting room has its own air handler. If there's no scheduled use in the meeting room, I don't turn on the air, we don't turn on the lights. Now, we're in our office doing our business, but that air handler, that room is not costing, nothing's moving. The electric meter's not moving and the water's not moving and there's no people flushing toilets. So there's no cost, in my mind, there's no cost for it to sit there empty. It'd be much better to have it sitting there full of people because that would bring in some money. But I understand what you're talking about. Why don't I go back and look at available hours, not 24, but available hours, say from 9 in the morning until 9 at night, and then some weekend times similar to that, and see what the total number of available hours are, figure out a percentage that's being used, just because that would be an interesting number, and then figure out if we can come up with a different way of looking at the cost of
Terry, you should have the data to find out what that usage number is. I mean, that should be fairly easy for you to figure out. How often, in other words, how often is a Taekwondo room?
That's how I got all these.
Right.
That's exactly how I got
So
them.
if you take that average number that you're looking for and you compare it against that number, we'll have a much better idea whether this number is,
Right.
how close to real, or not how close to real, because this is a real number. How close to break even is that number?
Well, and the other factor is that the chiller system has
9
air handlers. So each of those air handlers operates via computer control that it'll go on for 3 hours at a time. So if that room is occupied for 3 hours, that's all it's going to run, and then it's going to shut off. So the only way to really calculate and average anything is to take the entire usage, but you could break it down, like you were saying, Lloyd, break it down even further and go into each room and say, okay, let's take exactly how many hours this room is being used, exactly how many hours the air conditioner is being run, and you could run it like that, but you can't segregate that from in an electric bill and say, well, okay, this air handler is costing us this much. That I don't know how to do that. So in order to try to make it a little easier for everybody, I just took that number and divided it by the entire building, so it gave them just a simple.
It's a good number to start with.
But I see the point where we're missing something there because, we do, save where we can by not programming that those air handlers when nobody's in there, they're not running.
Because if you think, if you really wanted to calculate this, if you knew the total number of hours you used each of those rooms, added all that up, okay, then took the total cost of your electricity and things like that, all right, and combined all that, I think you're going to come up with a different number than this $2.66.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean,
so,
it's just having to go back there because on, any given year, her usage is going to change depending upon, the classes and nighttime activities, like the gym. The gym, they have, sometimes they'll have basketball in there until 10 o'clock at night on 3 days a week, or then there's volleyball until,
Again, this is not something that I think we should be having staff figure out. I think that the numbers are there. We might be able to find some folks that would be willing to wade in, a couple of folks that would be willing to wade in on this and do the calculations, come up with the numbers, and present it at a council meeting. I mean, I don't want to waste staff time on this. I just want to understand what the number is. I know Carrie does.
So I'm a little bewildered. This really should be a workshop issue tied into the KPEG.
I think
Is
so.
the point to reduce how much it costs per year to run the rec center?
Yeah, not a workshop for us, but.
Not a workshop for us, but it's another KPEG effort.
But was that the direction of the council? I mean,
We're going to decide that now.
okay.
So to see if the council, if that's, because I was going to send it to the interim city manager, because Kerry wants to do some more work on this, and we'll just, either you need to do some more, or the KPEG, but we'll generate someone. 261, Greg says a good starting point, but I think it needs to be tweaked. Right? Oh, yes. So I'm just going to send it back, all right? And I don't think November 7th, you're coming back, but that's too soon for you. You're bringing back pontoon boat stuff.
Yeah, I'll be back November 7th with pontoon boat information in, and I'll work on this. And Andy's always been willing to give me a hand on this, and he's good with words. I don't know how he is with
What you
math.
put together here, don't get me wrong, is tremendous. You understand oodles more about your costs now, all right, than you probably ever wanted to.
Oh, yeah.
But again, you have to understand what your costs are in order to manage them.
Appreciate that.
So-
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, I should have done this a little bit earlier, but Jim, I'm going to ask you to give your city attorney report and then do number 1062, and then we'd like to give you the night off. Should have done it earlier, the rest of us too. But we got a couple more things on here, but Jim, so your city attorney report?
Yeah, I think really the only issue that I have, the only issue that I have is, there have been some emails that were generated by council members regarding the utilization of, email addresses, for something other than the Beachcaster. And basically, I talked to staff to figure out how this all came to pass, and I believe that the fact generating it, I'm not casting aspersions on anybody, and I don't want anybody to take it that way. It's just that that's how it happened, apparently, is that when the February-March Beachcaster was generated, there were 2 articles in the Beachcaster. One of them said to contact Lenore directly with your email address. Another one had that little tear-off sheet that you could tear off, and it didn't. Neither one of those had any disclaimer in that format. And for lack of a better way of putting it, the protection from the disclaimer, because the email address would be generated directly to Lenore. There is no disclaimer when you email someone directly. And that's where it fell out, I guess, for lack of a better way of putting it. And because the city's website does have multiple disclaimers on the web pages where you can input as you have navigated through the web page. After this happened, I talked to Ann about it and how to try to address what the major concerns were that came out of this. And Ann brought up a point, actually she had brought it up previously in another context, that maybe we needed to put something on applications, for instance, for licenses and things like that, because there is nothing in the statute that I'm aware of as there is for web page, which is in the document that's in your council packet. So based on everything that happened, my understanding is that Lenore is working to have the disclaimer now placed basically on every single web page that's in our website.
Already done.
Okay. And then Ann and I talked about having a disclaimer or notice put on all documents, non-website documents that are generated from the city that's going to have a similar disclaimer on it. And it's going to be similar to what the website disclaimer is. And I'm just going to read it to you. This says notice under Florida law, any information, and it's not, that's what I'm saying, it's not directed solely to email addresses. It's going to say notice under Florida law, any information you provide to the city, including any email addresses, are public records. If you do not want your email addresses released in response to a public records request, do not, 1, send electronic mail, email to the city, or 2, include your email addresses in any correspondence to or application filed with the city. Instead, contact the city by phone or in writing, parenthetical, but do not include your email address in any such writing. So, I mean, we're reacting to what happened, and I think we're dealing with what the issue was, and that's how the city's intending on addressing what has transpired, and I guess we're going to put this notice in the Beachcaster in the future. So, and that's where it ultimately. That's, I mean, the horse is out of the barn. I mean, yes.
So even going forward in the future, you couldn't have a disclaimer saying, I request to receive the Beachcaster, but I don't wish for my email to be released.
No, and that was, I'm going to get to that right now, because the other two issues were the release of the email addresses, which is in here. Once, and we've talked about, as I indicated, we've talked about it in a multitude of different contexts, anything that comes into the possession of the city, and any governmental entity for that matter, in the normal course of its business or pursuant to law, whether it's by ordinance or statute, is presumptively a public record. And we've had the conversations about, you know, your guys' email addresses as council members when you have your own context set up. But unless there's an exemption to the disclosure by statute, anything that comes into the possession of any governmental entity is a public record. That is subject to disclosure as a public record request. The other question that was raised was whether or not the person who made the public record request name can be disclosed. Obviously, if they do it in writing or they do it by email, that information is in fact itself a public record, so that can be disclosed, obviously. There's also some Attorney General opinions that kind of dance around the specific issue that you raised, but basically the city, in our case the city clerk, could actually put down a log as far as who actually made a public record request. You can't make the person do that, but the clerk can make a log as far as who the person was that made the request and what the records were that were requested. And that's a public record.
We have that. We've been doing that.
And that is a public record also. Again, that's a record that's generated in the conduct in the course of the city's business.
But if they ask to remain anonymous.
Can say, but cannot do that. Cannot do that.
What's that?
Oh, you mean a person asking for the records? Yes, they can do that, yes.
They can
I'm sorry,
remain
I
anonymous.
understood your question, yes.
Okay, because the request to me by the citizens, by the multiple citizens I got inputs from, they wanted to know who requested all of those email addresses and sent out that email that looked a lot like a city email.
And that person put their name on their, in the law.
The public records request.
They opted to send it to me by email, so it is a public record.
Oh, I thought when I asked you said you couldn't.
That portion for the Beachcaster, sir. The other email that you requested, that person asked to remain anonymous.
Okay.
So there's a differentiation. It just depends on case by case.
Now, having said that, that doesn't preclude us from putting down who it is.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
A lot of folks would like to know, because they're very unhappy.
So it doesn't preclude us from putting it down even if they ask to remain anonymous.
My understanding by law
is if they have the right to remain anonymous
Correct.
under Chapter 119.
They have a right to not have to put their name in. If you know who they are, that doesn't, that's a different issue.
So
Now,
I
what?
want that in writing, sir, so I don't get in trouble.
I understand.
That would be good, because,
And I will
I
ask,
take
then I will,
numerous
and I will ask counsel this question. If there's not a clear indication, do you want me to inquire of the Attorney General's office whether or not that can be disclosed or not?
yes, I think if we're giving out
I mean, that would be,
information, we should know who's asking
Yeah,
for the
I
vote.
think that's a fair exchange. I think citizens want to know,
I understand.
especially when they get emails like they got.
That's why I'm asking the question, is
Yeah.
if I can't find a definitive answer in the AGOs that exist now, whether council wants me to, I mean, we can do an informal request like we did last time, and do it that way, and hopefully get it back relatively quickly. So, I mean, I'm just asking, my understanding would be that, yes, you can do that, but I'm not going to sit here, as Lenore has asked something in writing, that's my gut opinion, but my point is that there's not a specific Attorney General opinion on that point. Would council want me to ask for that?
I have to be real honest, we have beat this public records thing since we were elected. Really, we have had it on the agenda, we have, you know what, if that's our policy, and Lenore knows the person, and he's just advised that's his gut legal opinion, then if Lenore knows the person, she needs to put it in the log. That should be our direction. I'm going to make a motion that that's the way we handle it.
But before you do that, I know that that's my gut.
Yeah.
My point is there are Attorney General's opinions that talk about that issue. I'm sitting here tonight telling you I don't know the specific answer because I didn't know that that was going to be an issue specifically for consideration. But there are, and I don't want to sit here and parse the words from stuff that I remember reading when I don't have the writing in front of me right now.
I mean,
And I don't have a problem coming back to the next meeting and saying, if that in fact is the case, then I will tell council that.
Public records are public records, but I think this year it's been ridiculous. I don't believe that appropriate staff time has been charged for these public records. That's always been a concern of mine, you need to provide public records in a timely fashion, but I just think it's really, I can't even imagine how many CDs have gone out that have been on our dime. I think that we need to charge appropriately. We actually talked about a procedure, and we set up a procedure for public records, and it's still, we had a meeting.
With fees.
We have it.
Yeah.
Hey, Jim, excuse me, I didn't mean to say, hey, Jim, but the next meeting is after Election Day. I'd like you to do some research ASAP.
Oh, I can do that. I mean, I don't have any problem doing that.
Because I think in the next couple of weeks, we may get some requests, and after Election Day.
The reason why I'm saying this is just because the way that the Attorney General's office looks at you having to provide something is what restrictions you are imposing on a requester of a public record. And the fact, that goes down this path. The fact that you know somebody who's making it is a different path. And that's what I'm saying. I don't remember how the two interrelated in the opinions that I read.
If you could just get us something.
And I could probably have it to you by Friday.
And one other thing, if they pay for a disc or time, I think if it's over 15 minutes.
You do have a fee schedule.
Does the receipt have to be anonymous?
I understand.
Anonymous?
I
When you write out the
understand.
receipt?
I understand
There's
your
a
question.
lot of things, then the receipt is also public record. I think I think it's become to a point where it's ridiculous. And it's not normal. It's just not normal. Public record is public record, but the way that some of this information is going out and it's being obtained is really taking up a lot of staff time, and they need to be charged for it. I would like to see how much money is brought in, how much time compared to, we just dissected the rec department, let's dissect the public records.
And in this particular
How much
instance,
time and how much money have we made off of it then?
yeah, in this particular instance, there was a real groundswell, I think, of people who felt like their privacy had been invaded. And as well as, whether legally it had been or not, that was the perception. They felt, and then that they felt kind of tricked when they received that email that looked an awful lot like a city email. The depth just amazed me.
Chief Pearson, I know that people come in for police document records, in the past, they'd come in. Are they required by law to have their name, if they're resident, or different things, or they can come in anonymous?
No, that's big trouble, like he said. We don't have actually, everything he said is what we do.
It's the same thing.
If somebody emails me and says, I would like a public records request, whatever, I shoot it to Sherry Driggers, and that becomes in itself a public record.
But if someone walks in there,
If somebody walks in and says, I don't want to say anything about anything, I just want to know, because this happens. It happens.
Not infrequently.
Not infrequently, thank you.
So if we were to
People
change
will say, I want to know what happened at this address last night, and I'll make a public records request because I saw things happening and I want to know what it is. Now, we can assume it usually is a neighbor of some kind, but we don't ask the name, we don't do anything, we just hand it to them.
Now, is that state or police policy? If we changed our city policy, could we change the police one also? We're not allowed to mess with police?
No.
It's all the same.
Oh,
So it's all treated, everything.
We charge for 5 cents a page, correct?
Yeah, absolutely, we are all the same stuff.
Yeah, they follow whatever the public records policy is exactly the same thing. They just have more exemptions to deal with because they are the police department.
Really sketchy on the exemptions. Everything the city does, we charge them, and we get, if it's large, we get it up front. Half of it, I believe it is, and, we're all right in line. We went through all this, a little while ago when the granting of public records requests started.
We talked about it numerous times.
All right, so Jim, it's going to come back to you.
I'll try and get something to you by Friday.
Well,
and I'll get it to Ann, and Ann
You
can.
have something, I don't know, you got to get, just, we want.
Well, no, I mean, you got to get it to staff,
Yeah.
so I mean, that's what I'm
Get it
saying,
to
I'll
you.
get it to Ann.
Okay.
Steve, can I press, you want to say something?
I'm just wondering, here's a suggestion. You want me to come up there, or, the beach master initially had problems getting the mailing list from Domingo Printing, saying it's a work product. Is it possible to make the emails go through a third party and then become work product that would be protected from privacy?
Okay, we'll look at that. That might be some, just like we're trying to do the contractors for advertisements. Yeah. Going through a third.
And I think that's a great idea, Steve. Unfortunately, I think it's a great idea, but it would have been, I wish we would have done it a month ago, because the horse is out of the barn now.
Thanks for that. Jim, can you handle, okay, I'll ask the council. This is good. It's going to take us a while, but do we want to do the first reading? Do we want to discuss this? And 1062.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
I think before we do first reading, I think it'd be a good idea to figure out what council wants to do with the blanks that are in here. I mean, just remember, no, there's several of them, actually.
Okay.
And there's also the issue that I brought up at the last meeting about, do you want to do 2 options or 4 options? And because we talked about, 2, 3, and 4, having the rankings kind of a thing. I don't see a real problem with doing, the city and the county, but when you start doing the other ones, it can become a nightmare as far as trying to implement it.
You're looking at,
and also to word it.
Okay. So,
and that's in the definitions where you have the local adjacent business, the local county business, the local adjacent county business, and then you've got, the local preference, which is in D on page 3.
I don't mean to pass this to the interim city manager, but don't you think that these figures should be given to us by the staff for what they think, rather than the council come up with?
It's a policy decision
How
for
much do you
council.
want a solicitation for supplies? Between what dollars? I don't know what the council wants to do.
I kind of agree with you, because I think the staff is going to have an idea of what their pain threshold is as far as, where they feel that it might be necessary to go out and get bids versus what's going to get in their way of conducting day-to-day business.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I can
like
fill in a ballot.
like you had a $2,500 limit on the government purchase card and things like that.
Well, we kind of already have that. This only deals with local preference and establishing a basement and a maximum for a basement and a ceiling for what this will apply to. And that's, you know, like I think I brought up at the last meeting, I think a lot of cities have a threshold of about $1 million. You know, if a contract's over $1 million, then this would not apply to it. And, you know, do you want to go down to the basement, or do you want to establish it whatever, you know, where the staff has the ability to do it, or do you want, I mean, the idea is, do you want it to apply to every contract from, you know, from $1 up to $1 million or $750,000 or $2 million or something like that? That's really what, and that's what I'm saying, that's more of a policy decision for council to make than staff.
I had a problem that this was going to be, if I want to buy a ream of paper, I have to do local preference ream of paper on this, and I didn't know if I wanted to do that.
And that's, but that's what I'm saying. I mean, do you go down to zero, or do you start, or
50,000 to $1 million?
Yeah, because because that's what it says, all supplies.
Yes.
All encompassing, anything we buy, a staple gun.
But typically you have a different rate for supplies than you do services
But this
and
says,
things like that.
yeah, this says supplies and services, this says everything.
well, no, I know, I made it as encompassing as possible so
Personal
that the council could take out what they wanted to take out.
Amounts in purchasing personal property, materials, contractual service. Personal property to me is almost anything. These satellite beach bins.
I thought when we were first talking about this, we were talking about services, when the city would go out to get services.
Because we already had something in there for supplies.
Right.
But not for local preference.
And should we have local preference in there?
You know, that's the other.
Well, you know, that's what.
I'm sort of thinking that myself. I mean, are we hog-tying ourselves?
Yeah,
Well, you
I've
are,
said that all
actually.
Yeah,
We've said that all along, and I'm concerned that it adds another layer of bureaucracy for the review.
And we
of
may not
getting-
get the best.
Yeah.
We may not get the best deal.
I mean, it is, I've said it all, you're kind of hog, especially with our geographic location and our demographics here in Brevard County. We just consider metropolitan Orlando.
I agree.
or-
I say let's do away with it.
You know,
But,
when it
I mean, well, no, the issue is, I mean, it actually is costing the city money
And it's,
to do this.
I'm afraid it's going to add another level for staff of review and procedure and time to secure.
And it gets to my libertarian hairs on the back of my neck, because now we have government giving sway to some businesses and not others, making winners and losers. I say we can't.
Okay, good. And I agree. This came up when we were going to do, who was going to sell hot dogs.
Snow cones.
Snow cones. And we said local vendor, and that's the genesis of this. But Jim, this is
That's
very
just how it
nice,
started,
But
yeah.
this outweighs the package. So, what do you want to do?
So how do we get rid
I
of
never
it?
liked to do it.
You don't have to do anything.
We just don't read it.
Jim, thank
So
you.
you're not going to take any action on it.
No action.
We're going to take any action. Jim, thank you. Good night. Enjoy the,
Hopefully the Tigers are winning right now, but I don't know.
hopefully you don't have this. Thanks, Jim. All right, take care. All right, I'll come back. City council comments. Let's get, Lloyd, you want to start?
No.
Do you want to add in? I mean, do you want me to come back to you?
Well, I think the only thing I want to say is that I was very impressed with the turnout last night at the forum. I think we had almost 140 people there. They were the most important people there, of course, but I was distressed that half of our candidates didn't make it. I mean, that was unfortunate. You know, there was some dialogue tonight that there were some things said that were libelous or accusatory or something like that. I think what was misconstrued is the rhetoric and the way that the questions were asked. I think if you the questions were written by people who came to the forum. They weren't written by candidates or the moderators or the people hosting the events. These were all written in the handwriting on cards provided, all right, to the attendees. So if somebody used a particular terminology, you know, for example, I think one of the questions is why didn't somebody go to jail because of the CRA issue? That was just their rhetoric. It wasn't accusatory. And it didn't mean to point to any specific member of any specific council. It was just a way of getting their point across to their question that was just the way they worded things. But again, we became the blamees, if you want to call it, for that rhetoric, and that I don't think was quite fair. And again, when someone phrases a question in such a way, you essentially repeat your answer back in the same way the question was phrased, so you're essentially perpetuating that rhetoric. But again, you're not accusing, you're just responding to the question.
Okay, thank you.
I agree that I think it was very well attended, and that was very refreshing to see. I think folks enjoyed the fact that there was yet another forum to talk to their candidates, and I think candidates should take every opportunity to be able to talk to as many people in the city as possible, because that's what the citizens expect of their leaders. And leaders who won't step up to the plate and do that, I think, aren't leaders.
Oh, I'm next. I'm still wearing pink. It's still October. Just so you all know, because I'm the only woman up here. I would like to know, did the flowers go to Scotty Colt?
We had a call into Ricky from the council.
I brought soup over there the other day, and he said he got some.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Just checking.
Because we were checking candy and some other stuff.
So did something go?
I did not send it. I did not send anything. I did not send flowers.
Was it a plant, maybe? A plant arrived?
I sent the plant.
Oh, well, that's what he was
But
talking
not on
about.
behalf of the council. I said last council
Okay.
meeting, we directed something be sent to
The
Scotty.
answer is no, but I did not forget it.
Okay. And then,
I'm still working.
You're still thinking about it?
Well, I'm thinking about the appropriate gift.
That's right.
Okay. I mean, I'll talk to you.
Okay. And then, citizens' comments, I know they've been moved, I know they were moved during budget, but I thought we were going to keep them at the back of the front.
Yes.
I think it's really important because, this place clears out their long meetings. I also think our comments should be at the front because a lot of times they come to us from citizens. And then I know you all got this not so pleasant letter. We've been inundated with letters this past year, but this one was particularly vulgar. And I just wanted to bring it up on YouTube for people that are going to watch. Just kind of tasteless. Just a very tasteless letter that went to a former resident of the city. I don't think he lives here anymore, about his residence. And I just think it was really in poor taste, whoever sent it. Just thumbs down. So I just thumbs down on YouTube to this one. So it's in the public record. Very classless.
Yeah. I handed mine to the police chief. Vice Mayor?
A comment on the forum last night was 138 attendees. Very well attended and run real well. It's a shame that the other candidates couldn't attend. It was nonpartisan. It was just questions pertaining to the city. I know that a couple of the citizens' comments tonight were upset about something, but I think we were there not as Lloyd and I guess, as sitting council members. We weren't there as sitting council members. We were there as candidates. And I think it's freedom of speech again. They have their points of view. We have ours. I don't think it was necessarily slanders or libel or anything like that. And I thought the behavior was real well, and I'm hoping we have a good forum this coming Tuesday with the Women's Club hosting it.
Yes, that'd be good too. Thank you. I went to Space Coast League of Cities dinner. All the candidates was there. Dan was there, and they all made presentations, which was really good. I do want to tell you, tomorrow night I am addressing the Melbourne Chamber of Commerce. They're doing the status of the beaches. That's at the Crown Plaza. You're all invited. It's from 5 to 7. No meal. I think just refreshments. The 4 mayors are going, and the 4 city managers. I'm supposed to present 10 minutes. I really am happy that we approved the sign ordinance tonight. So I'm going to bring that with me and a lot of other things that we have done for business. It's the #1 goal of the council, businesses, and I'm going to talk to the chamber tomorrow night.
I'd also, while you're there, bring up the budget we just passed.
They want to talk budget too.
Cutting the operating expenses 7%, decrease in the tax rate 2%. I think that's Satellite Beach should be proud of that.
Yes.
And it's all because of citizens.
And I'm going to encourage them to come here and put their businesses. I'm going to do that. And you have a good time at the CRA conference
It's next week.
Next week, okay? And that's all I have. So that'll be good, I hope. All right, let's look and interim city manager report. Ann?
And Jeff is still here, Chief Pearson. On September 27th, Chief Jeff Pearson was presented with the Satellite Beach Police Department's 4th consecutive State Law Enforcement Accreditation Award. And they look at a number of practices and policies such as compliance with state and federal regulations, evidence processing, and a number of other, there's quite a list there. And there's an accreditation team that was, assessment team that was assigned to the police department, and they spent 3 days here, and they had indicated that they looked at the policies, procedures, and personnel, and they deemed them as near flawless. So that's quite an excellent synopsis of that.
Congratulations. That is terrific, Chief. And
is it appropriate to add a couple things to it? Is that?
Yes, an interim city.
No, you're not going to be in any difficulty.
This was just kind of impressive. I just thought I wanted to pass this for those of you that weren't able to be there. It's a pretty significant thing. There's 150 people there, but agencies from all around the state. Some receiving the Great First Accreditation and are nervous. Some Orlando PD that's just like a machine to be able to just go on and varying size, all kinds of stuff. But the process is, when you get to the final in front of the big commission and it's all the thing, and it's pretty generic at that point because all the vetting's been done, all the hammering's been done, everything's been done, the report's been reported on. It's the formality, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. But one of the people said, I read your report, and one of the things I noticed about the volunteer program was to stop by and say, I'd like to hear more about it. It sounds interesting. So I gave him, and you all know what it is, so I gave him a quick little thing in front of him, which had not been done prior to or after. It was, thank you very much, you did good, shake your hand, shoot your big thing, take pictures out the door. I got 3 phone calls, 2 phone calls of chiefs around the city, around the state, that want to institute that exact plan and that exact program with their volunteers in their respective cities, and wanted all the information because they live there. And I just thought that was kind of neat that, that just little satellite pictures for all these people, Orlando and Lakewood and all these people, and not only did they say that all these people here, but they're calling to say, hey, we want to do that too. And it just kind of goes to show that whole Satellite Beach, like you said, you want Satellite Beach to say, hey, we got a taxi, we did this. And for my part of the world, it's kind of nice to know that you're doing things that other people, big and small, go, wow, that's cool, I wish we would have done it. I was just kind of happy. I was very impressed with it. Peacock thing going on right now because of my folks. I just wanted to say that.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Bert, thank you also, and thank you for the entire police department. Well done.
Excellent.
For that. Thanks, Jeff.
I wanted to let everyone know as well that the ADA wheelchair was actually used, and it was a family, and I just want to read this. It says, we were so excited to be able to go to the beach as a family and have our daughter safe and secure. She has a very rare seizure disorder, and this chair gave my husband and I the opportunity to enjoy a walk and lunch on the beach. So soon, huh? Isn't that nice?
The fire department delivered it?
They did.
You can send that to the Lions Club too, so they know how.
I definitely will. Definitely.
Wow.
I've also sent a notice out through my private mail group to folks to where they can access that wheelchair.
That's good.
Can you send me, and I'll take care of this, the address, at least of the person that you send a thank you card to for that? I would certainly like it.
Okay.
And I will do that.
I will be happy
I'm
to
not
do
just
that.
saying that because I'm here. I want
Okay.
to do that for the personal call.
Okay, and Councilwoman Deanan, the fire department engine is running well. You had requested an update on that. There are no known problems, so.
Did?
Yes.
I was requesting an update.
No,
I
that
wanted
was-
an update on the contract with Brevard
Oh,
County.
I have not
for
heard.
Fire
a thing-
services.
Oh, I thought you wanted to know about how the engine was running.
No. I wanted an update on the contract for services between us and Brevard County.
I haven't heard a word on that. I will check on that. But anyway, the engine is running fine.
Yay.
Good.
That's funny. Okay, our special events volunteer coordinator. Council had requested a report within 45 days. We're a little bit stuck with November, so is that all right if we have the report of the 28th council meeting?
Yep.
So, okay. Permanent city manager search report, there were about 50 applications, and of course, the end date is Friday.
Are we still looking at the 29th to meet with them?
I think that they're going to meet on their own on the 29th.
That they would need to make the recommendations, and then you would meet.
So we're
Right.
not meeting on the 29th? I thought they
No.
wanted to meet with us on the 29th of
You had
October.
indicated otherwise, though.
Okay.
Yeah. No, you're not meeting on the 29th. Okay. Pizza Hut site is in the process of cleanup.
By there today, it's looking
Yeah,
good.
so it's getting the facade, yes. And the comp plan, regarding the military component of the comp plan amendment, the DEO, Department of Economic Opportunity, and Florida Department of Transportation, FDOT, have responded. And I think there was on one just a little bit of language, no problem with that. So we're looking at the 28th of November for the second reading of the military component. And we're going to be setting up a workshop probably in December for looking at that comp
Can I
plan.
just make a recommendation? The November 28th meeting, we should not have a lot of stuff on. I'll tell you, the new council
Okay.
will be sitting, I mean, who's ever up here, there's going to be at least one change. If you just throw everything at everybody that day, it's going to be too much. The events coordinator is
Right.
coming, you want to have a CPAB meeting, this is a lot of stuff.
Well, we need to do this military component, and I don't think that's going to be a big deal.
Okay, if he's only doing the.
Just the
if
military.
Jim's only going to do the military. component.
Exactly, we're not going to be getting into all the other aspects
Going to do
because
old business or new business?
That's old business.
that's old business, that's
The
correct.
existing council.
That's correct. That'll be old business. So we'll try to keep that as light as possible. We will have that budget
There's
amendment.
a lot of things going on there,
Right.
And
I'll-
really, traditionally, that one is
Right. But the military component is extremely important to get
okay.
done on the second reading, because we've already had the first reading. So, and that's about it.
Okay, thank you. CRA recommendation to separate the CRA budget, agenda item number 17. What is, I think we all know what this is about.
Exactly.
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay, go ahead.
Make a motion that we approve the CRA request to separate, for budget separation from the city via ordinance, thereby removing references to the old community redevelopment plan.
Do we not have to select an option?
And it's option A.
Oh, I'm sorry. Option. Yes, option A. As we discussed in the CRA.
I second that.
All right, I have a motion by Councilman Billman, second by Councilman French. Any public comment? Separate budget. Okay, Lenore?
Councilman Medina? Yes. Vice Mayor Rhodes?
Yes.
Councilman French?
Yes.
Councilman Billman?
Yes.
Mayor Collins?
Yes, and the motion passes unanimously. Thank you, and thank you, CRA. All right, next meeting, November 7th. I wrote down pontoon boat,
Okay.
and I'm not sure that, ordinance number 1063, I don't know if, we can do that first reading and second reading on the 28th, but that's a monster. I'm not sure if...
1062, we don't want to do.
No, number 4.
Oh, okay. 1063.
Yeah, 1062, number 3 is out.
And I don't know if that needs to be done with with me outgoing. I hate to say that, but...
Well, I can hold that off. I can hold that off, and the other issue is, we're still waiting from FPL to get back with us with any of their concerns. We've gotten AT&T's response, but FPL has been slow.
Okay, okay.
So do you want to?
Is that okay with the council? I don't know if you want to, it's the city of South Lake Beach reestablishing process notice required, vacating public streets, alleys, canals, special public. You're still rating for FPL on that, right?
Yes, I am.
If it doesn't appear to be a monster, we can leave it in, but if it appears that it's going to be.
Okay, I'll see what, okay.
Anybody need anything else on the 7th agenda?
And 3 is gone, right?
3 is
more.
adios.
Yeah.
Who is supposed to present the report to council on non-conforming lots for the CRA?
It's supposed to go to,
It's not even in the hopper yet.
No.
No. I was going to say it was going to go to P&Z, but that was non-conforming.
Well,
Can I ask
Yes.
one more? I was told that Beaver will be preparing establishing a code for dock setbacks, and that may be coming to you in November.
it makes me be on the 7th.
Okay, maybe we'll have to tackle.
I think we should start on our capital improvement plan discussions. We've been kicking that one around since we took
But I
over.
mean, I have an issue with all these discussions. We said, prepare a capital improvement plan, the staff needs to come back to the capital improvement plan.
That's what I mean. I think I'd like to see a draft.
Yeah, I agree. It's long overdue.
Well, we're just about ready with that. Most of the department heads have,
You think we could see a draft?
I'm gonna try.
That'd be good.
I'm gonna try, okay.
Okay, that'd be good. Do you want anything?
And what about personnel policy? Or you haven't had time for that yet?
The issue with that
Yep.
is,
Got it.
yes,
Yep, disregard.
thank you.
So the next meeting's the day after the election, right?
It is.
So that'll be,
And the day,
that'll be different.
the day after that day is the CRA meeting. So we
That's
got
right.
election.
And just so you know, I went back and looked because we had a pretty hefty pending list for future meetings, and I went back and looked at some of the old agendas from July, and a lot of stuff has come off that hasn't been addressed. I'm going to go back, and I'm going to go.
I think almost everything has been addressed.
I'm going to go back and look at those lists.
Yeah, and if you've got anything, let me know.
There's one thing I would like on the agenda, and this is an issue, is rather than do a roll call, is just to go to a yay or nay when a question is called.
When a motion?
You mean in total?
To vote for a motion?
I mean, it's
Why is-
peculiar to do a roll call, usually say all in favor, aye, nay, because it sets up, you always vote last, and you always have the opportunity to see what everybody's voting on. So I think a better way to do it, and how it's typically done, is yay or nay.
Well, I've seen that, but the mayor wasn't a voting member.
Well, I just would like to bring it up as
When the
discussion.
mayor was the city, I don't,
Lots of times they just push a button as well, so,
I think that's going to, I understand what you're saying, but I think we have to change our council
Yeah,
procedures.
yeah.
Well, don't you want to hold people accountable if they set a vote and they go for re-election and you say, well, you voted against that, because I got it on the record. If we went yay and nay, you would specify which members said yay and which one said nay? Or, I don't know how you do that. Just pass 3-2 and yays and nays?
it'll be a good discussion.
Okay.
will we do it on the count as three?
I believe it might be in the charter. We'll have to double check that.
I don't think it's in the charter, it's a procedure issue, in fact, I've
Read it somewhere, but I'm not
It's
sure
in the
where.
procedures.
We'll look under the procedures and
That's
see.
before you're making
Right.
that direction.
I don't think it's in the charter.
I'll tell you
We'll
what.
research it.
The new,
Yeah, how about looking into it?
okay, everybody in favor?
Yay.
Oh, no, I think, okay, you guys can discuss it, I don't want to be involved. Unless
Or
I'm
maybe
the-
it comes up
unless
after
I'm
the
last-
after
unless
the
I'm
new council is in.
The last one to vote, you know. All right, adoption of minutes.
It does say roll call. Voting shall be by roll call.
In the
for
charter?
board record in the city council's minutes. So
In the
it does
council-
say it.
yeah, you
It
can
says
change the
voting
council
shall be
procedure.
by roll call.
In the
In the-
procedures,
In
yeah.
the city charter.
In the charter?
Yes.
Okay, well, there you go.
There you go.
Can we get a referendum? on it? Disregard that. Okay, all right.
We need to do a charter.
I'm sorry, it's getting late. None of us have moved. Okay, adoption of minutes, 2/3, August 2/3, which is you guys, August
I've
2/8.
read them. Has anybody else read them and have an issue? Okay, I make a motion to approve the minutes of August 23rd workshop meeting and August 28th workshop meeting and September 5th regular meeting.
Second the motion.
Motion by Councilman Billman, second by Vice Mayor Rhodes. Lenore?
Hold on, I have a second, sorry. Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilman French?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rhodes?
Yes.
Councilman Billman,
Aye.
Mayor Fontaine.
Yes, and the motion passes unanimously. I will just, I just want to say, next meeting will be after Election Day. I will recommend to both of you that a lot of signs get lost on Halloween. So be careful with your signs, and Halloween's one of those things. We do have most of us are going to be walking at the Founder's Day Parade on the 3rd. So, and there's what else do we have? Do we have any more meetings?
I am not going to be able to do that because I am in Tallahassee with my daughter at an ROTC banquet.
Okay. Anybody else got anything else?
I just say one thing, the snow cone people at Pelican Park, hadn't seen them there for weeks. You still getting money from them? I know that they cut their contract in half or something, they just abandoned ship and that's it, or what? I thought we had a contract. I haven't seen them 3 or 4 weekends in a row. They should be there at least Saturdays and Sundays.
That's what they said.
And I haven't seen them, so. As long as we're getting the cash flow, I don't care, but still, I like the service of having a snow cone truck there. So let's get somebody else in there, Elaine or somebody else, I don't know, somebody.
Okay. Let's look at local preferences for that.
Thank you very much for coming, everyone. Good night.